watch you sleep in my clothes. No, it ain't right, I've been stressing at night. We're together, but I feel alone. How long do I stand here in the fire? How long do I try before I'm on my own? How long do I walk across the wire? Stay till we fall. lost your attention. I'm running out your mind. Don't know the direction to your side. Got the wrong impression. I thought that we were fine, but now it's turned to ice. So you decide, and I just wait. I don't get you, I don't chase. So you decide, and I'll just save my time. I guess we'll never know, but don't say that you're sorry. Don't say that you're sorry, girl. 'Cause we came almost too close, but don't say that you're sorry. You don't really want me, girl.
welcome into the Boise State Gay Pants Esports Arena. Boise State switching over to League of Legends, taking part of, fittingly enough, the Halloween Classic. And it's a battle of two undefeated teams. It is Boise State taking on Illinois Wesleyan. Michael Fisher, Paul Sulpan Vaughn here to call all of the action. And Sulpan, this is the battle of the top of the group. Both these teams sitting at 4-0 right now, looking to maybe make a run to the playoffs here. Boise State did lose game 1 to Illinois Wesleyan. Unfortunately, we're going to have to join a little bit late. We'll start with game 2, but it's a very good turnaround for Boise State. 4-0 here after some early season struggles, and unfortunately dropping game 1. I've heard it was back and forth. It took multiple Barons, so we will see what Boise State could do. But how do you rebound from a loss in a best-of-3 format in League of Legends, Solpek? Because this could be your last game against Illinois Wesleyan if you're Boise State because of the fact you dropped game 1.
Yeah, I mean, we just got done casting Rocket League, but the good difference between Rocket League and League of Legends is the ability to change up your draft. So you analyze what the enemy is able to pick, what they were super successful on, and you can compare that to the bans you had in your first game. Is this new pick worth challenging with a different ban, or is this new pick that they surprised us with something we can counterpick in the next phase? Red and blue being switched all the time, changing up who's getting first pick versus counter pick. There's a lot of options here to actually bounce back inside of League of Legends. Best of 3 is a little bit of a tougher format to do so in because you really only get that one chance, and they got one more chance here to make it happen. But a clean 2 sweep for Boise State or one more win from Illinois, and one of these teams will no longer be undefeated.
Yeah, and I think the hard part is with best of 3, as you mentioned with the draft, is a lot of game 1 draft is just ban what's OP, right? You know, ban their 1 tricks. We have been told they have a Kled 1 trick, so I would expect Kled to be immediately banned. Ban what you don't like playing against in solo queue. Ban what counters your comp. Now you can have sort of what a lot of people call the respect bans. Did somebody pop off on a certain champion? You can take that one away. So I'm very curious who we're going to focus down. Again, I would assume we'll see Kled banned, just incredibly strong for Boise State. People have been watching for a while. They know Rumble's going to be banned. Ascent, basically a Rumble 1 trick as well. So 2 run tricks, both going to be banned out. I'm curious what the other bans will be, and I think that'll tell us a lot about how game 1 went. If it's a lot of mid bans, we know where their strength is. If it's a lot of jungle bans, etc. Very, very curious. One, what side Boise State will pick. What are you in terms of when you lose? Do you like blue side? I know that's kind of been the default in the past, but it seems like recently we've seen some teams in other Boise State tournaments lose and still pick red side. What are you, blue or red, coming off a loss?
Well, it's meta dependent. If there's a lot of power picks in the meta right now, it makes red side so much more powerful because you can then allow a bunch of these picks through and then get 2 in the second round. If there's 1 or 2 picks that are just popping off completely, it makes blue side much more powerful because of that first pick, of course. So it's less about which side you like better and more about how the meta orients itself towards that pick and ban phase.
Totally fair, totally fair. The other thing I do like about blue side is you get, I like to call it the 4th ban. You can first pick something that you didn't want to ban, but you can play. Recently, it's been that Camille, so strong in the top lane. Well, I don't want to ban Camille. We can't fit it in with the Kled and everything else, but we can just first pick Camille, and it kind of operates as like a pseudo ban. I know I've seen a lot of people do that with a Mumu down in that support role now, which is still a very odd thing for me to be saying as someone who's been playing so much League of Legends. Like, yeah, a Mumu is like an A-tier support now. Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed? So it's all very, very strange. Of course, we also had our most recent patch with some changes to Gore Drinker. I'm curious how the jungles will adapt because I know Boise State was big Xin Zhao fans, big Lee Sin fans, very reliant on that Gore Drinker. Did take a bit of a nerf. Curious if they maybe change up their style in that pace because, again, we've only had this patch for, I think a week or so, Soulpan, so it's curious to see how much Boise State's been able to adjust their styles because unlike Pro Play where they are always on a stagnant patch, you just kind of get like, hey, new patch, hopefully you scrimmed on it.
Yeah, it's just kind of how it goes sometimes. I mean, the college games don't exactly adapt to the patches as slowly as the professional meta does. So sometimes you actually see collegiate games happening on newer patches than the professional meta is. And I mean, that's very obviously with Worlds of being, I think, a few patches behind at this point.
Yeah.
The collegiate meta is going to be very different. Camille, like you said, so strong thanks to the Gore Drinker nerfs. She's taken away so many top laners, making her on Divine Sunder just so much more powerful than almost any other top laner in the game. I think she is a #1 priority pick, and I would not be surprised to see her 100% pick ban throughout this entire series.
That's the other thing that you were alluding to. You know, we don't have that sort of pause. These teams are 4-0, yes, but they're not 4-0 on this patch. They're 4-0 on just whatever patch they're playing on. By the way, if you were curious, because this is the first time we've seen the Halloween Classic, other teams in this tournament besides Illinois Wesleyan include Florida Southern, Utah, UCLA, and then our Mountain West opponent, Colorado State. So a very top heavy tournament, a very strong tournament. Boise State undefeated, as we mentioned, taking on Illinois Wesleyan. Both these teams 4-0. Illinois Wesleyan did win game one. We're just waiting for the pro draft to start. Kind of came in right as game one ended, so you got to give those players a break. Speaking of Divine Sunder and the Gordrinker nerfs, I do think I saw a Hecarim in game one who is starting to gain jungle popularity because he builds that Divine Sunder, does not have to worry about the Gordrinker. And so top, as you mentioned, Camille, jungle's the other one because Boise State has loved their Lee Sin. They've loved their Xin Zhao. A lot weaker without Gordrinker. Xin Zhao's still insane, and I would not be shocked if it was a pick ban here, but losing that Gordrinker, you lose a lot of sustain on those AD junglers that used to be able to kind of just carry the game as a pseudo-tank, building full damage with Asterix and just saying, look, I'm literally unkillable in team fights.
Yeah, the Drain Tank style, right?
Yeah.
There are still options for something very similar to that, set up only with the Yuumi support. So if that's left open, you can go on to something like the Talon jungle, which is a lot weaker now as well, but still very strong with the Yuumi attached to him. Olaf, extremely good on this patch, also pairs extremely well with the Yuumi. You can just charge forward and ensure that the final chapter does land on multiple targets, just thanks to Ragnarok and the CC removal from the game. It makes Olaf and Yuumi just super strong pairing. So that's another duo you can pick up, and it's one of the things that Red Side often picks up in that first and second pick off of a power pick from Blue Side.
Yeah, the Yuumi, I mean, I feel like if you've been watching Worlds, Yuumi's hopefully not going to get through. Yuumi has been just pick banned at Worlds. But as we wait to get into game, we should be able to check out the lineups for Boise State, see who they are bringing, because there are some faces that you've been watching Boise State you'll recognize, and there's also some faces that are very new to the team. So hopefully we should be able to check out the lineups here while we wait in between games, because Boise State has added some very new talent that has been very, very impressive. Soulpan in the top lane, in the jungle, and in that support role. Meanwhile, Ascent and Goblin still holding it down in that mid and bot lane. So a different style for Boise State that I still think we're working the kinks out for, because it's been a while since Boise State has had a strong top in particular. And I really do like what Elo Dad's done at the top lane, and it's given Boise State that fifth player, because there have been some times where it's like it's kind of 4 players and some guy who's getting forced to fill top lane, which is an awful place to be, by the way. Yeah,
top lane, especially on this patch, is such a contentious role, too. The ability to, assert lane dominance with something like the Camille, another one of these Divine Sunder or top laners, get some forward pushing, and then enable your jungler even harder just by having a solo lane that's further ahead. It's just giving your team multiple win conditions, and so having a strong solo lane up there in top lane, absolutely crucial, not only in team play metas, but also just in general on this patch.
It's the Halloween Classic for League of Legends. Fish and Soulpan here, joining Illinois Wesleyan and Boise State in progress. Both teams 4-0. Game 1 just finished. Hoping to get to Game 2 here, at least the pro draft, at any moment. We weren't quite able to see all of Game 1, so we don't quite know exactly who dominated. I do know from just watching some of the spectate off screen, it looked like a couple of Barons picked up by Illinois Wesleyan, a couple of one-team fights at the end there. But a very close match. I know about 25 minutes in, it was a 600 gold difference despite Illinois Wesleyan picking up a Baron, which seems to me to show that Boise State had an early lead in that game, which is something that has been an issue at times. Early leads falling apart. Boise State just needs to make sure you don't play too aggressive, because League of Legends is one of those games where once you get behind past 25 minutes, man, is it one of the most awful experiences that anyone will ever feel when you're down in gold. As we get right into our pro draft, Boise State taking that blue side. We'll see what they want to take here.
Yeah, so I'm guessing we're going to see a red side Camille ban. I mean, Illinois Wesleyan, there's no way they let that through against their poor top laner, who Boise State will be getting out Kled, obviously, so he'll be off of his #1 comfort pick. It really enables the Boise State side to allow that Camille. And I kind of mentioned this earlier, the Olaf ban coming through means the Olaf Yuumi ban, or the Olaf Yuumi combo will not be available for that red side 1 and 2.
I would expect probably a counter. There's the Rumble. I mean, we don't need to really be shocked by it. It's been there for absolutely ever. It is something that is set plays again. We're probably expecting the Kled, unless maybe Boise State wants to get a little bit tricky, and you pick Kled with the first pick. But when someone has played so many games on champion, do you still feel comfortable playing that champion into them, as it does look like we'll get a Kindred ban probably for Boise State? Yeah,
it's a little risky. It's the one trick special, right? They're going to understand how that champion plays into any matchup that they bring into that champion. Now, if that champion's just super strong, Kled, a very strong lane bully, there's a risk just allowing the pick through. And as it turns out, Boise State just says, you know what, we're not even going to risk it. Just take away the Kled. But yeah, I mean, if you're one of those one-trick players, you never want to play into your own champion. You're much happier if you were the one holding it.
There's that Yuumi, so that'll just take the full pocket off the table. The Kindred ban is interesting. It is not something we've seen Mortar, the jungle for Boise State, play, but it is very prevalent in his solo queue games, in his OPGG, which can sometimes be deceiving because, again, Boise State, we've never seen him play it. You don't know how much they've scrimmed on it, so that could almost be a free ban for Boise State because, again, we've never seen the Kindred, but there's that Lee Sin. Boise State loves picking blue to first pick Lee Sin, and Illinois Wesleyan will shut that down. But the champion you and I talked so much about, Camille, is up. You'd be shocked if Boise State isn't just going to first pick it and leave it up for Illinois Wesleyan unless they really do not feel comfortable on that champion.
Yeah, I was almost hoping here that Boise State would leave the Yuumi open just so that they'd be forced to ban between Yuumi and Camille and then pick the other. But actually it looks like Boise State is just prioritizing something entirely different here, starting it off with a very fast LeBlanc lock-in.
That's always interesting. It's always risky to pick your mid blind. You have to be very confident in a lot of matchups. We'll get the Echo, who can kind of flex all over the place, so it's going to be very hard to lock down. I think the flex picks in this pro draft style are very important because if Boise State believes this is an Echo jungle and tries to counterpick the Echo jungle and the Echo flexes mid, your picks have all been wasted, and that makes those second phase bans even harder. So I'll be curious if Illinois Wesleyan will kind of keep that Echo back foot as they get the Ezreal pick here and be like, well, it could be mid, it could be jungle. Boise State, what do you think it's going to be?
I'm going to guess this is going to be a mid lane Echo. Looks like the mid laner for IWU does tend to play that more than any other champion. But here's the Camille. It made it through the first phase, which is just, I'm scratching my head personally. But the fact that Boise State is locking in two extremely strong solo laners tells me they're playing for top side. Both these are super strong, and yes, IWU does technically have counter picks into this. They chose the Echo matchup. They chose Ezreal bot lane to allow them to stall out that counter pick as well. So what tells me this is what I'm thinking. They just picked a weak side bot. They're going to play through their, or Boise State already wants to play through their top lane just based on solo laners. And now IWU has to match that with some very strong solo laners of their own.
They're going to pick up the Urgot there to most likely go against the Camille. Yeah, very interesting that they wanted to leave that Camille through. I don't think the Ezreal was necessary unless, again, maybe you have a top laner who says, look, I know the counter for Camille. That can also happen because she is just so incredibly strong. As we hop into our second wave of bans, and I think this is going to be very telling. There is a support and then either a mid or jungle up for Illinois Wesleyan. I'm very curious what Boise State will focus down, if they'll just continue to target that support role, as we are going to get a Rakan ban to take away that very powerful Xayah-Rakan combo.
Yeah, this is one's just a kind of a no-brainer. Xayah's on the table, you have a ban ready to go. Why not drop it on Rakan, right? Such a strong engaged champion would really enable a lot of pick potential here already with the Camille and the LeBlanc on the table too. So this just makes sense. Boise State, they're looking at banning out some of these early game junglers to deny the ability of IW to pick up some early game pressure on their lanes. So this tells me that they are thinking this is an Echo mid. And by locking out the two best early game junglers in the game, J4 and Xin Zhao, it does look like Boise State wants to play through solo laners and wants to deny the ability of IWU to lock in a jungler that could just carry these, or make sure that these solo laners don't pop off for them.
Meanwhile, we get double jungles for Boise State in the ban list. We get double supports for Illinois Wesleyan in the ban list as a Braum ban is going to come through, which, interesting. I do like that ban, and it is going to put a lot of agency. You talked about Boise State, you know, panning away junglers. They're going to be forced maybe more into that tanky jungler role, maybe the Hecarim, something we talked about. You can't just go, I mean, you could go full send, but it is going to open your team up to a very critical weakness, and the Leona pick locked in for Illinois Wesleyan. I love that pick. It gives them that front line tank who can lock down a LeBlanc or a Camille if they look to make plays on the back line.
Yeah, absolutely can work. I mean, LeBlanc goes in, Leona just jumps right on top of her, stuns her down, and allows the entire team to collapse on top of that squishy mid laner that has that escape option. What's good here for Boise State is that, oh yeah, there it is, another answer. So they blocked Leona last game. This time they'll be playing with the Rel. There's kind of a question of contention of which of these engaged supports is better. It seems like teams typically favor the more straightforward Leona and just start tanking this ability. But Boise State still has one more pick here. They're looking at their jungler, and it's going to be the last pick jungler for both these teams, and it will be the Poppy. It's
an interesting one alongside the Rel, but then again, you look up, there's no Kindred, there's no Lee Sin, there's no Xin Zhao, there's no Jarvan, there's no Olaf. Oh, jungle, the most popular ban target by far. The Poppy kind of fits that role of being a tank, especially when you have that LeBlanc and that Camille. You don't really need that much more damage, and it will be a Nunu. So you are right, it is the Echo mid lane as you predicted there, and that Nunu could be an absolute pain when it comes to securing objectives, grabbing river scuttles early for vision, vision, because Nunu, as every jungler has ever known, will just absolutely just demolish every camp, every objective on the face of the earth. So this means objectives are going to be very tough for Boise State to lock down unless they have early vision and can start fights and pick that Nunu.
Not only that, Nunu is just so incredibly good at ganking early. He can go for something at level 2. Obviously, just Snowball is so good at transporting him from lane to lane. He can put so much pressure on this Camille and LeBlanc and just deny them the ability to snowball the game. You're going to have to look on this Poppy for her to commit to a 2 versus 2, because in theory, this LeBlanc and this Camille should both come out ahead of this Echo and Urgot.
And the speed thing is the thing that stands out to me, is Poppy's not going anywhere fast. And so that means that Boise State solo lanes and basically all Boise State lanes are going to have to say, we have to win lane. We have to prioritize getting deep vision to know where Nunu is going to be, because as you mentioned, that snowball can get you from point A to point B. You can gank mid and then appear top, and Poppy's still trying to finish off a camp, because Poppy's clear is not the greatest. It's kind of you filling in that niche tank role. So I'm very curious. As you said, it seems like Boise State wants to play around their top. If potentially it is, look, we're just going to have Mortar on that Poppy, sit kind of between top and mid, go back and forth, and bot lane's going to be kind of free. That does open you up to free dragons. But that Nunu is going to just wreak havoc on the Poppy, and I'm already scared for Boise State. Again, game 2, Illinois Wesleyan won game 1, very close game from what we were told. As you look at these team comps, as everything really starts to settle in Solpan, do you have an advantage for either team?
I will say that one big thing for Leona is that I think she's much better as a roaming support. And when you lock that with the Ezreal, you can tell that they're not playing for bottom lane. This Nunu's going to be bouncing between top and mid, and Leona should be following his back timings and then also committing to ganking one of these lanes alongside the Nunu. So I like what IW has set up here. However, I think Boise State has locked in a stronger laner in every lane. Xayah should be able to shove in this Ezreal. LeBlanc should be able to shove in against the Echo. And Camille, I think, wins the matchup. It's pretty close against this Urgot. So if she gets any jungle assistance at all, she'll pop off and snowball the game. LeBlanc, she can roam to top and also help some further snowball really any of these lanes. Look for a dive on Ezreal while the Leona is roaming. So this is really going to be an executional difference. I mean, both these team compositions have a very clear win identity.
Yeah.
I think the inherent advantage, though, just is going to go over to Boise State. I just give so much credit to anyone who can play Camille to a high level.
Yeah, I think that you kind of hail it. I mean, who knows where you're going to see people in the right lane, right? Like, I mean, there's so much roaming, especially from the LeBlanc. Echo can clear waves decently quick with the Q spam. It can make it very hard to nail good back timings or nail good roamings here. As we set everything up here, I think the real interesting thing to me is going to be just kind of watching how Boise State wants to...
We're getting some T-posing champions. Here's I'll break it down. They burned Ignite on the Nunu invade. They attempted to get a kill. They chunked him out, but they didn't manage to kill.
Yes.
That's Nunu.
That looks about right.
Yeah, and now he's going to be forced to back. We'll be a little bit late to this buff. Normally, if you want to try and go for that back, you have to be back around 55 in order to make your buff exactly on time. So Poppy will have a slight advantage here to start out the jungle clear.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the Ignite burn there for Light Pulse on the Rel. Flash did get burned from the Nunu, but again, there's so much mobility with that Snowball. I don't think it's really going to make a difference, though. They're still actually going to get a leash. The Urgot is going to still help out that Nunu despite getting to the lane or getting to the jungle just a tad bit late. And both junglers actually starting on top side, so means they'll probably meet down for that first gank at the bot side of the map and maybe then look to snowball top side once they get their first gank off.
And Nunu on a red buff tells me that it could also be the level 2. You never know where this guy can go. As you know, remember when calls Mundo as a champion that goes where he pleases? Nunu really has that ability, but actually, I mean, he's just so fast around the map. Looks like he just wants to try and go for the usual 3-camp clear. Gonna clear out his blue and his Gromp, hit that level 3, and then maybe look bot much faster than this Poppy can.
Now, as Poppy is still trying to take care of their first Gromp, that Nunu just has so much speed all over the map, the insane clear times as well. The Flash will make it maybe a little harder to secure a kill. I do like the cleanse there for Goblin, going to be able to get out of that level 2 engage from the Leona, because of course that is what Illinois Wesleyan's bot lane is playing for. As soon as Leona hits level 2, she gets so much power with that Zenith Blade, with that Shield of Daybreak, and that means Goblin has got to be on his positioning A game here as we see both junglers start their second buff.
Playing safe, and again, Xayah absolutely has the shove. You already see the advantage coming out. You can't really walk into this wave just out of fear of harassment, and she's just keeping her own support so tanky. So Boise State can look for the 2v2, but they're getting engaged on here, going straight on in with the Zenith Blade. It's IWU with immediate advantage here. Nunu has arrived to fight as well. Goblin will be stunned up, trying to land this on their own, but just picked up there. Goblin will fall, and yes, that is in fact a dead character. The champion models are just being a little buggy here on the spectator client.
It was a great gank there by Nunu, just like you and I sort of pointed out exactly what they want to do. Get an early gank. You can see they're going to try and catch Nunu off here, rotating mid.
Looking for him, going to be dashing in for the knockup. LFG in a little bit of trouble here. Has burned the flash earlier on that invade, so he might have a chance to take him down here. But look at the smite health. Still has the bite available as well. We'll just charge Fable into a wall, and now he's in trouble, denying the dash. It's a great play from the Poppy. That's what she specializes in, and Boise State will answer back.
Another fight here. They're still fighting over this Rift Scuttles. It looks like they get a stun on Mortar.
Fight not over just yet. Mortar in a little bit of trouble here. Dash in from the attempted on the rail. A good knockup. They're managing to stun up a few targets here. No one's going down just yet. Again, IW able to scrap it out and escape, but it's a teleport in from Fable on top of it. Urgot has also arrived at this fight. IWU collapses on Boise State, and they pick up a few picks for themselves. Oh, Scuttle Crab. Did it go? I don't know.
I think it looks like it's still... Oh, it is blue.
Woo.
I think Ascent did actually pick that up on the LeBlanc. But again, that was a great job by Illinois Wesleyan. I think Boise State just overstayed their welcome as Elo Dad's going to try and jump onto Sharks, get some damage. As soon as they picked Fable, that was a great teleport, but I think Boise State just should have retreated. I mean, you're never going to kill a Nunu. You mentioned the smite healing. Had he really needed to, he could have walked over and used Consume on that River Scuttle as well. So I feel like Boise State was just a little bit too aggro on that play, and instead of going 1 for nothing, they end up going 1 for 2 against them.
Yeah, just sitting further back here. I mean, this play's in a great spot for this Urgot. I mean, normally, you on the Camille, you want to play this advantage, play for the solo kills. But we got a gank in the bottom lane here, actually. Playing for some test on the vision, but Park, so damn fun. Not going to be able to make it out of this one. Will go down. LFG just going to auto him to death. Now Goblin's in a little bit of trouble. It's a double buff Ezreal. Will land the snare. Will blow the flash to escape. And a few summoners burned here in the bottom lane. And another kill picked up by Illinois.
It's a great job there using that Nunu. They catch out the Rel, trying to just clear vision. And as you mentioned, there's sort of a debate between Rel and Leona for the engage, but the easiness of the Zenith Blade in, land the stun, and ooh, Ascent, they're going to miss that in the mid.
And just unfortunately missing out on the combo. Also important, he's low on mana. So this wave that's being shoved in right now, Fable can do this one more time, and Ascent just can't even clear out the wave. So don't expect this LeBlanc to be making any moves anytime soon.
The stun that lands onto Rel takes a huge chunk of damage.
A lot of health burn there on the Rel, just getting as much as they can in on the way out. Level 3 just now taken forward, and Rel's going to be forced to back here once again, most likely. Yes, the enemy bottom lane's resetting, but she's going to miss out on so much experience.
Yeah, came back from lane after a death to be forced to back immediately. As we see here, everything's starting to even out. Nunu looking to maybe make a play on that mid lane, but LeBlanc so hard to gank. Ocean Dragon is up, and Illinois Wesleyan has pretty much easy prio with a Nunu and should be able to pick this up with quite ease, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been tough here for Boise State. I mean, their laners had flash there just a second ago, so they have a summoner advantage on this dragon. They have the Nunu advantage, which is just innate in the jungle, taking any objective. So it's gonna be really tough for Boise State to try and make a play here, but looks like they aggroed the dragon and then immediately pulled off, so it may not be the play just yet. Looks like actually right now what they're setting up for is another Nunu gank bot.
Yeah, I think they believe Boise State had more vision on the dragon and actually knew, but Boise State didn't even ping it once. Boise State had no idea that dragon was being taken. Now, it does look like LGF is going to go in. As soon as Boise State starts to rotate down, once again going to be forward. No, this time he will commit to the dragon. They're looking to make a pick onto Goblin here. Maybe a tower dive. Here comes the Hex Flash.
No ultimate available. Will burn the cleanse to escape some of the crowd control underneath the tower. Teleport used here for Boise State. They're committing to try and turn this tower dive around. Hex Flash was burned there, so Leona will be able to just walk on out. Fable in a little bit of trouble here in the middle lane. A great stun from Poppy. That's almost another kill, but managing to ult back barely in time. And actually the tower shot is scaled up. Fable turns around for a 1 versus 2 double kill in the mid lane.
Wow, they also get the dragon as well. They had the stun onto Fable. I was waiting for the ult, but he just gets it off in time. And that's why Echo just has so much strength. The ability to basically become almost ungankable, because even when you try and tower dive him, he can heal back up to full. He gets that chip damage. Going from not picking up a kill to giving him a double kill is just, that is backbreaking for Boise State early on.
Yeah, the name of the rune is actually escaping me right now. Oh, but remember to cut that off as LCF is look for get another gank here in the bottom lane. Almost gets stunned up. Will actually get knocked up there and stunned up, but Goblin's just not there to do the damage that they need to find this pick on a Nunu, and he'll be able to walk out. Leona providing the zone materials they need in order to pull off that grand escape.
I like exactly what this Nunu is doing, realizing, look, I can just sit bot lane. Boise State's bot lane does not have a great amount of mobility. Anytime that Fizzy Sup finds a stun, they're going down. Here comes Mortar, though, but immediately just a dash away from that Urgot.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of miscoordination there from Boise State. Burning the hook shot on Elodad right before the Poppy made it to lane. Had they coordinated that a little bit better, I think they could have found the kill. But in the end, IWU Sharks is able to escape the gank. We'll just probably teleport back here into lane.
Lane pushing towards Ascent, so he's not going to be able to clear. You look at as we hit about the 9-minute mark. Most of the CS pretty even, but it's that bot lane where Boise State has had to face so many new ganks, and that mid lane where the Illinois Wesleyan starting to pull away here. They've got just over a 2K gold lead, though hopefully Boise State can cut into that with some plates. Here comes Fable.
Dad wants to get at least one of these plates, but now we'll be in the duel against the Echo. Nunu on the way as well. Has to cut away from this one, or it will be a 1 versus 2. Fable doing a great job holding him in place. Here comes the Nunu snowball. Dad realizes he's in danger. Has to dash out. Fable committing to the dive here. They want to try and get on forward. Here comes the Poppy. It's a little bit too late. Echo able to pull off the conversions and just pop on out of that one. A nice 1v2 there in the top lane for Illinois.
Mortar, I don't know if this is a fight you want to take.
Ooh, this is a little bit risky here. Nunu's got a lot of sustain and a lot of health to get through. Will actually just pull out the attempted full stacked ult, but oh my god, another smite keeps him alive just barely, and actually LCF will turn that one around and find the kill, but there was a dive in the bottom lane.
Well, the problem with the dive is that Rel gets taken out by the tower, so even when Boise State pulls off a good play, they still end up losing 1 for 1, and Nunu said, hey, I already used Smite, I already used Consume, why not just grab this Rift Herald? And it looks like Ezreal, Handy Taco there, and Fizzy Sup, they're just going to set up this for an easy Rift Herald charge first tower for Illinois Wesleyan.
A little bit interesting here, sending the bot lane to the middle lane so early, but I think, like you said, it looks like they're trying to get as much chip damage on this tower as possible, and a Rift Herald could absolutely quickly take this one down. 9 minutes into the game here. Be a very early mid-tower take, but they could totally pull it off.
It's like Boise State has kind of swapped things up all over the place. We do have the Echo up at that top lane. Illinois Wesleyan kind of matching suit, but this Rel is just taking so much damage. Really has no freedom to go anywhere. Anytime they try and clear wards, they get chunked down by this Ezreal, who's 2-0-1. Starting to stack up that tier. The Goddess has the Sheen, and it looks like where do they want to drop this Rift Herald is the next question on Illinois Wesleyan's mind.
I still think the right call would be towards that middle lane, would really enable Fable, who's now 3-1, has the Proto Belt to roam around the map, but here's a 3 versus 1 attempted gank onto IWU Sharks, has the ultimate, gonna pull in the Rel. This will be the Fear, flashing out immediately after, should be the escape, and it's a 3 versus 1 on the top lane, but this one's favoring IWU as well. Will be Handy Taco on the way out, gives him the fade away on the Arc, or on the Essence Flux, that's the wrong ability name. Close enough though, he kills him, and he gets out.
I mean, oh man. Ascent gets chunked down. There's the Rift Herald. They're actually going to drop it in the top lane, it looks like, but it does once again get a ton of gold value over to their AD carry. That's going to be first tower. That's going to be 2 solo plates shared between the jungler and the Ezreal as Ascent's looking to go in.
Ascent trying to find a way to push on forward here in the middle lane, but with the whole wave there pushing against him, it's going to be hard to chunk on through that. Takes too much damage from the minions themselves and will be forced back underneath this tower. And meanwhile, there's a Herald top lane that just managed to take an entire tower for the side of IWU.
Yeah, did actually get a second charge off as well, so chunking down that tier 2 top lane tower. And as you start to look across the map, I mean, you see mythic items being finished. You've got the Proto Belt on that Echo. You've got the Sunfire there on LGF. Boise State is just so far behind. It's starting to wonder where they're able to take fights so we get a biggest snowball ever.
Here comes Nunu. We'll be able to dodge out, and minions will tank up on the biggest snowball ever. Still has not done the pullback. Will not snare up anyone or get any damage, but they are able to survive. Staving off the gank pressure here from the Nunu. It's massively important at this point in the game that Goblin just continues to survive and build up this farm.
Dragon is up soon, but oh, it's a turnaround gank.
And no one expects the second gank from Nunu. LGF trying to get back on into this fight. Built a manless snare, but it's 2 teleports not coming to join. Everyone is here. It's Ascent starting this one out on it. IWU. A great knockup from Poppy. Will try and push someone back, but it's actually this Leona all the way into the fight. Now Poppy getting in the middle of it all. Will deny, I think, at least 1 dash with that W field. But in the end, IWU is on the way out. Camille has finally arrived. Elodad trying to make something happen here. Will land the slow on to Fizzy Soup. Now pushing all the way through. A nice flash to get the double stun there for the Rel. But is IWU still able to escape using all their cooldowns for it? Attempted on the Empire. A great stun will deny the Nunu. And there's a shutdown going on to Camille. This is not what you want for IWU, but they managed to completely surround Boise State. A slight overcommittal of resources to kill off this Nunu. Fable goes on a rampage. And they're going to continue to chase down the rest of these remaining members. Flash forward from Handy Taco. It's 1, it's 2. He does not miss, and it's a double kill for Ezreal.
Only person that comes out alive for Boise State is the LeBlanc. That will be a free dragon, free plating, whatever you want it to be, as Ascent has to run away. He totally nailed it, Sulpan. Just an overcommittal of resources on the Nunu. Boise State had that. They had survived that fight, and while I understand they had the Nunu running, I think it's better there, especially down so many kills before that fight. Just take the 0-for-0 trade. Don't get greedy, because now they find themselves in even a bigger hole. We're almost staring down 7K gold difference, and we're not even at 14 minutes.
That's absolutely not what you want to see this early on in the game. Nunu as well pick up that dragon, and actually Ascent in a lot of trouble here. Might just get tagged up by Fable. One last tick would have done it, but able to dissuade him with the chains. Snare just enough of a threat to stop the Echo Assault.
Dragon is going to be started and immediately finished there by LGF. He's coming in with the snowball.
In trouble, a double man knockup. It is so many members into the fight. Look at the Ezreal, the giant arcane barrage coming through for so much damage. It will be a 1-versus-1 here in the bottom lane. Another shutdown going on to Camille, but Goblin trying to find a way out of this fight. Will not be able to land on the Snare. Just trying to bait the Ezreal in a little further. The Snare does come through, but not enough damage. Ezreal gets onto the wall. This might be the shutdown coming through. Heal does keep Handy Taco alive, using his resources so intelligently to navigate these fights. Ezreal stays alive once again. Elodad actually in a little bit of trouble. Will be okay.
Boise State commits the teleport from Elodad after getting that kill onto Urgot and find nothing for it as both LGF and Handy Taco. One gets over with the blast cone, the other will just blink over the wall, and Boise State just unfortunately just not getting nearly enough value in these fights as Illinois Wesleyan is, as the two supports will stare at each other. They'll clear each other's words, but there's really not a whole lot of battling that's going to be happening here.
Wet noodle fight! So damn fun, finally winning out. We'll be able to clear out this pink board, but there's a Nunu on the way, so we might just have another fight happening right here as Fizzy Sleep trying to lock him on down. Still has the W to try and escape over this wall. We'll commit it, and it still will be a chase forward. Teleport actually burned here for IW. They want to try and finish off this rel, but that's a burn summoner. One more advantage going over to Boise State here as Camille will be happy to know that a solo laner just burned the teleport.
Sharks also missed the ult as well, trying to get that last second snipe. Chains do land. Snowball not going to quite land onto that LeBlanc, and Boise State has a ton of issues in their jungle. Also, here comes Mortar looking for a play, can't get stunned.
Barely actually missing out on that stun there. Would have been massive underneath the tower. There's still a chance for a dive to happen here. Arcane Barrage going to go a little bit wide there towards the Ascent, but it's up to them to dive in the bottom lane. Will end the stun. Lens immediately comes out from Goblin, but Echo just have so much damage. Fable will be able to ult out. Not going to feel too much of the return damage from the Xayah, and will be happy to continue the split push. And there was a Solar Flare just used there.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Handy Taco.
It's sniped out by Handy Taco. Elodad does not have that turret for much longer. Illinois Wesleyan just kind of shoving their advantage across the map. They're going to pick up their second tower. That gold lead is now almost 10K as Elodad has to just try and run away from the Urgot.
The one advantage they have here was Camille. She did manage to get those two shutdowns, so Elodad should, in theory, have an advantage over this Urgot. But again, just have to be so careful. Urgot has a lot of health to burn through. You're not going to be able to kill him just instantly like a normal squishy top laner or a squishy ADCs. But actually going in here will be the gank from the Poppy as well. Does have the red buff. Will fully commit onto this one. Poppy just body blocking a lot of these shots. Intelligently played by Boise State. They'll get a pick for it.
You get that shutdown. Now they want more onto Ezreal.
On forward, a nice chain of the CC to try and lock him on down, but it's just barely not enough damage. A shutdown will go on to Goblin here. That might be massive for Boise State. Will end Snare as well. Fighting back effectively. They'll get yet another one. Boise State getting pick after pick. In this fight, 2 versus 4 though. It's actually IW still coming to this fight. Well, we're not into it. Trying to find a kill onto the Echo. They'll just go Golden. It will stall out just long enough, knocking up the Nunu. He's got a lot of sustain. They can't burn down anyone else. There's no consistent damage. A great block onto Ascent there with the snowball to deny the kill on the proc. And Nunu might be able to escape this one, burning down little by little. They're trying to commit. No, they overcommit.
Oh,
Boise State dropped 2 kills onto the mid lane tower.
Boise State has given so many kills to towers here. Now Nunu could try and chase down this Ralph. The snowball lands. It's a dead support. This time Boise State's tower might help out.
Not enough here.
Oh, they get it.
There it is. The shutdown will go over to the support. A little bit unlucky there for Boise State, but either way, they managed to get the kill on the Nunu in the end. And at the very least, they committed a lot for it. They do end up getting it.
Good news for Boise State that they did at least get it, as you said. I do think Boise State, this game would be so much different if Boise State just knew how to slow down. Just a little bit, right? I mean, there was no need to full send for the Nunu. You had just won that fight with some excellent play, some maneuvering around the map, and then you lose 2 members to that Nunu, who is now 7-2, and Goblin barely dodges a Solar Flare.
Yeah, I mean, we're at 34 kills in a 17-minute game. This is absolutely insane. We're getting 2 kills a minute throughout everything. So I absolutely agree. Slowing it down could be helpful, but it just looks like at this point in the game, it's IW in the driver's seat. Boise State trying to escape here. Goblin will get stunned up by the Leona. It's just enough crowd control to take him down. No ult burn other than that solar flare. Fight might just not end here, as it is going to be the engage from the Rel, looking for more here onto Fizzy Hop. Not enough damage, able to flash on out. There is a giant Nunu ult channeling here in the middle of the entire fight too, but they're still taking down. It's Ascent managing to pop off, finding a pick here for Boise State. But in the end, Ezreal is untouched, and he's just going to wail away on these towers with the Rift Herald to assist. You gotta believe mid lane inhibitor towers going down here at 18 minutes.
Boise State is probably going to have to eat this second charge. They don't have respawns for quite a while. First charge going to go off. They might even get a charge onto the inhibitor. As Rift Herald lining up, does finally get taken out. But look how much damage this Ezreal is doing. Does not quite have the true shot barrage to finish off Goblin, but Handy Taco is a problem. Has the full stack mirror mana, has the Triforce, working on the last Whisper now. At 10-1 and 3, Boise State's gonna have a hard time finding their way onto that Ezreal.
Yeah, the problem with playing Ezreal in solo queue, at least for me, is that I never do as much damage as people like Handy Taco, because he's just landing every single skill shot. He makes it look so easy. But in the end, he's just able to chunk out so many members of Boise State into exactly what this team composition needs. Chunk them out, finish him off with the hard engage from the Leona Nunu. IW is playing to their game plan, but right here, Fizzy Snap may have actually just went too far into the jungle. Might be trying to slow her down just enough for Ascent to join the fight. Doesn't have the flash to get over the wall. Should just drop here, but that might be enough crowd control to keep him alive. Finally, Mortar is able to kill him off. This is actually a good opportunity for Boise State. They're in a corner with Xayah Feathers. Can Goblin find the pullback to Cole on the fight? Ezreal takes a massive amount of damage, but I don't think it's enough to take him down. Flashing out, barely staying alive. Attempted to smite on the Wolves there for the Mordor, but in the end, he will fall. And that is Boise State. Get double kill in their jungle, and it will be an inhibitor most likely dropping here at 19 minutes.
I have never seen a Nunu get so much absolute zero value ever. These ults are being full channeled, even at full tank. It is just destroying Boise State once those fight comes out, and somehow Handy Taco with the slipperiness on the other, because usually you don't pick Ezreal to hard carry your games, right? You pick Ezreal to be that slippery 80 carry who can throw in some chip damage, which Handy Taco is doing more than chip damage at this point, but you're just so hard to lock down with the blink, with your flash. He got down to less than 100 HP, just blinks away, absolute zero comes out. Boise State has no mobility. They just cannot find a way on this Ezreal. Everything has to go onto Ascent here at this point. He's got to land a chain route onto Ezreal and allow Camille to be able to hop on top. They need to assassinate Ezreal if Boise State wants to have any chance. And then they have to deal with everybody else on the team who's just doing insane for Illinois Wesleyan as well, but Ezreal's the first problem.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point. That's why the absolute zeros are so powerful this game, because everyone's dropping all these cooldowns onto Ezreal. They're unable to kill him off, and then they're stuck in the middle of a fully channeled absolute zero, just decimating so many health bars on their team. Another huge point, you mentioned the Leona Ezreal, Ezreal kind of being like the safer AD carry. Normally, when you lock Leona Ezreal, you would do it so you can enable your Leona to roam as much as possible. But in this game, it was just Nunu constantly ganking bot, and he's got 10 kills to show for it.
I think it was great recognition by Illinois Wesleyan that, you know, okay, Boise State's going to want to play through their top laner. We can just pick apart bot lane. As you said, nothing that you and I expected. We expected, hey, look, Ezreal, you're going to be told pretty much just solo that. We'll come back to you when we can. But they set up Handy Taco. The Baron's going to come out. Boise State is going to try and make it there in time. It's going to be so hard to beat a Nunu in a smite battle. Could Poppy get there?
I don't think she managed to knock anyone out, so the Baron will go on over. They're engaging here on the side, on the support. They'll actually just blow one up, but Xayah's gone down. It's a 4 versus 4, and as they've traded an 80 carry for support, Park is so fun, trying to do whatever they can to get out of this fight. A great hook over the wall will actually not land for IW Sharks. Fear Beyond Death, not going to connect, and it's the Mordor doing whatever they can. Oh, it did land! It barely ticked down, and in the end, Urgot shows up with the dragging the Rel with them. I don't know where that came from.
I didn't think it hit. That did not look like there was a chain connected, as you see Handy Taco, one of the few times he's not able to land a successful Q. Elodad left for solo defense for a couple of seconds. Goblin's back alive, but with snowballs racing down and Baron buff, I don't think this Nexus turret survives for long. Boise State's got one last chance here to be able to turn things around.
Able just backing for this teleport on the reset. Boise State taking advantage of that, tries to get some chunk damage out onto this Ezreal. They have to go for the hard engage, though. It's an open Nexus. You got one last chance to make this fight happen. Into the back line, Fable has already picked up Goblin. They trade out of the rail as well. 3 versus 4. Boise State kiting back into their fountain, but they're still just taking so much damage. Fable does not care about your fountain healing. He's got every item in the game he needs to take down your entire roster. Hovering here, zoning out Boise State. Just gonna hit the Nexus now, and IWU will take the best of 3.
IWU will remain undefeated. Boise State will fall to 4-1. Still a fantastic performance for them, and we'll see what kind of playoff setup the Halloween Classic does have, or if Illinois Wesleyan will be crowned champions. And again, it was just really a great play by Illinois Wesleyan, using that Nunu to empower the Ezreal. Rest of the map, I mean, the Urgot kind of just traded even with the Camille. Mid lane was kind of even. I think Echo did get some picks, but really the thing to me is that Boise State just didn't have the ability to disengage. They kept taking fights. In the end, it cost them. Don't forget, Boise State Esports has always recruited talented players, production and broadcast members. Good grades can get you scholarships as well. If you want more information, go check them out at boisestate.edu/esports. A close game, and I think in the end, Soulpan, the big difference was Boise State could not trade even, right? They'd get a kill and then lose 4. They could never trade up in a fight, and a lot of the tower dives also just were not executed well enough for Boise State to be able to get value off of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's just tough stuff. I mean, the Nunu ended up playing that game so effectively, and really I'd say that LFG was the crux of IWU's victory there. I'm not sure exactly how game 1 went over, but either way, this Nunu looked phenomenal.
Yeah, it was a fantastic job by both these teams. Congratulations to Illinois Wesleyan. As we said, they end this Halloween Classic 5-0. Again, don't know if they'll be a playoffs or not. Boise State 4-1. Still a fantastic job. I think there's definitely some learning here to go on. And again, look like a maybe beatable team if you just fix those tower dives, and maybe now Nunu's banned, because that Nunu did everything that they wanted, and that kind of is the downfall, right? When you first pick a LeBlanc, you have to delay your jungler pick, and by the time they got around to picking that jungle, there just wasn't much value left, because 5 junglers, the top tier ones, were all kind of banned away, and Boise State kind of had to settle on that Poppy.
Yeah, I think the only other options out there would have been the Rek'Sai, which isn't terrible on this patch, but also I don't think super strong competitive, mostly just kind of picked up for their burst. Beyond that, you got Trundle, which technically could have worked really well against the Nunu because you can pillar him out of the snowball. But again, I think that at that point in the game, they were just looking for something else to really help them out with their team fights. Poppy wasn't a bad choice, but she was in no way ever going to match the early game potential of that Nunu.
Well, that should do it for Boise State League of Legends. It's been, again, I think there's more and more League of Legends coming up, so make sure you stay tuned. Drop a follow on the Boise State Twitch channel, because it does look like we might have some more coming up as well. So we'll just take a quick break, and we'll see what the future holds for us. There's more coming up after this.
NationalGuard.com to begin your guard adventure.
into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena, continuing on with our very fitting Boise State Halloween Classic here, where Boise State just got done taking a loss from Illinois Wesley, but looking to turn things around against the University of Utah. Michael Fisher, Paul Solpan Vaughn calling all of the action here, Solpan, as we reset, put our eyes towards Utah. What do you think Boise State needs to do to turn things around and come out 5-1 in the Halloween Classic at the end of the day?
Well, in theory, this should be a matchup Boise State's familiar with. Been playing against University of Utah for such a long time, it feels like.
Yeah.
Our partners directly south of us. I think they have a much better chance of coming in on the draft against this team. They just kind of know University of Utah's game plan a lot better. But also, like you mentioned, you're just coming out off the back of a loss. You have to make sure you're doing that process of mentally resetting, make sure you're not coming in tilted, and coming ready to fight.
I think the biggest thing for Boise State, especially when you alluded to the draft, is going to be just swapping up the draft order. I mean, making sure probably the jungle priority feels like the most important, just so that you don't let that Nunu run rampant over you. I know Boise State really loves that Lee Sin. They really love that Xin Zhao, but it's also Lee Sin, always a popular jungle. Almost always has been, always will be. Xin Zhao is very strong right now, to the point where you're almost scared to let the other team have it. With that Crescent Guard, you can become basically immune to all damage. So I would like to see Boise State prioritize one of those first early. Well, I think the LeBlanc pick wasn't the reason they lost in our last series. I think picking it first, there definitely was a time to get it later in the draft, and I don't think it was strong enough to justify, well, we could have done something else instead of the LeBlanc. I think Boise State would have been fine. So I'd like to see them maybe prio jungle in that first phase, regardless of what side they're on, and I think that should make things a lot easier, because it feels like they wanted to play through that jungle, but when it's Poppy versus Nunu, that's really not a matchup you can play through, because the Nunu's just going to be everywhere that the Poppy can't be.
Yeah, I will also say that this game's going to be really interesting against University of Utah. Their mid and their jungle share so many champions across their pools. So there's a massive potential of flex picking here for their team. But on top of that, their jungler also doesn't necessarily play a lot of the meta junglers, like the Xin Zhao, Lee Sin, J4 we saw get banned out last time. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see none of those champions picked by University of Utah if they're left open, just because they favor one, flex picks, but also two, these carry style junglers in Kiana Echo.
I think I really do like the Keanu Echo pick in the jungle, because I think that it can definitely let you pop up. But I think the flex pick, the thing you alluded to, that can maybe win Utah this series if you look at it from the other side. Because, again, this looks like a matchup Boise State should be very familiar with. Should be a matchup Boise State is favored in. So if you're Utah, you have to rely heavily on those flex picks, catching Boise State off guard, playing a Kiana, flexing it to the mid, so you kind of catch them off guard as we hop in here. Boise State on the blue side, Utah on the red side. We obviously all know that Rumble will be banned, and after that, it really is a guess. Could probably assume Yuumi might be taken away, and maybe Boise State will try and take away that Echo after how it was played last game against them.
Yeah, it kind of feels like just off that last draft that Boise State really does not want to play into a Yuumi-style composition. Wouldn't be surprised to see bans thrown towards that Olaf, but also, I mean, immediately going to be the first ban towards the Yuumi. They're taking the one straight out of the equation.
Yuumi is just such a strong support right now. And, the fact that you can probably play with your toes at that point as well. I mean, you don't even have to worry about using the mouse. You can just put your toes on the keyboard and kind of just bind it to whatever. Again, I would assume the Rumble gets banned here if you're Utah, because it is a Sen's favorite champion. It's something he can play at any time, and you do not want to have that matchup. So I'm curious. The Lee Sin's probably the one I'm watching out for the most. There's that Rumble, because the Lee Sin and the Xin Zhao, I would assume, are what Boise State has on their board to first pick here, unless Utah bans both of them away in the next two bans.
And there is, of course, that Camille that's still available. Massively powerful. We didn't really see it get utilized as effectively last game, but even when behind, taking down multiple champions on her own and getting those shutdowns, and it will be the Camille ban locked in here. They do not want to let Boise State first pick this one.
Easy, man. We talked about it. Camille incredibly strong. I would probably assume that last one would be a Lee Sin for Utah. And as for Boise State, as you mentioned, a lot of flex and a lot of similarity between the mid and the jungle for Utah. That Yon, just a very strong mid laner, probably fits in that Keanu Echo style and sort of that assassin mid, so you always want to make sure anytime someone is capable of playing that champion, you take it away, because he can do absolutely insane damage to your backline if Goblin is not careful.
Yeah, just massive carry potential on the Yone, right? And if this is a team that excels around playing around their mid laner, you absolutely do not want to let them have something like the Yone if it's what they've practiced. Additionally here, Boise State, I think their last ban most likely be directed towards the mid lane. I think trying to free up Ascent on the map. Lulu not a bad option either here, massively played by their support player, and considering how much they hate the Yuumi, they probably want to take away the second best thing to Yuumi, which is that Lulu.
I'm curious what this Utah ban is going to be. I mean, all signs would point to Lee Sin, but then you leave the Xin Zhao up, and I think Boise State has no problems taking that. So I would assume if you're Utah, you pick the lesser of two evils. Never mind, they're actually going to ban that Lucian. So if Boise State does not first pick this Lee Sin, I would be very interested, because I do think that is, yeah, there it is, right there. They love to play it. I know they love to get it on blue side. So the Lucian ban is interesting, because it's not something Goblin plays. I know Lucian Nami has got a lot of popularity recently as sort of a win lane, but to let that Lee Sin through is a very interesting choice for Utah. I'm curious if they might have a counter, if there's something of their own that maybe they want to get the Xin Zhao, so they didn't want to take it away. So that's maybe why they left that Xin Zhao and the Lee Sin up.
Yeah, I mean, leave at least one of the power picks up, so you have an option to pick in this Lee Sin. Xin Zhao can absolutely match him in the early game, can excel at dueling into him. I don't think it's exactly something that their jungler would want to play, just because they want to pick something that they can flex. And both the Echo and the Kiana are available. So the question is, where do they want to try and lock these ones in? It will be the Misfortune first. High priority on this one. This is also one of this champion wins the bottom lane champions.
And Misfortune, incredibly strong. I know it's a champion Boise State has loved to play, but when it's between Lee Sin and Misfortune, I think Lee Sin is the better pick. I'm curious where Utah wants to go, because I think keeping those flex picks alive, as you mentioned, Sulpan, is a really good idea. Maybe you just pick your support here so you don't open yourself up into any counter matches, or you grab your jungler and kind of let things be. But it's very interesting, and it is going to be that Poppy, which, as we saw, could fit that sort of flex pick style, could be in the jungle. Usually we see her up in the top lane, so you still kind of have that flexibility if you are Utah. I would assume you'll put her top, because I think against Lee Sin you run into a lot of the same problems Boise State had, which is you just can't match the ganking potential of a Lee Sin if you're that it's going to be a Poppy jungle, and it doesn't fit the style that we've been talking about the Echo and Kiana. No assassin player wants to be stuck on a tank.
Absolutely true. One good thing about the Poppy into Lee Sin, of course, is obviously so many dashes that she can block. She can deny the ward hop kick, she can deny just the initial Q in. Really makes Lee Sin struggle trying to get into the trying to get backline access for one of those kicks later on in the game. So it is a good pick. But again, the Poppy versus Lee Sin, yeah, if it is jungle, Lee Sin will absolutely have priority and advantage. It'll be the Ziggs being locked in here also for Boise State. So now I'm looking at the rest of these slots that are open, and I want to get some more of that siege potential and wave clear in to complement the Ziggs and allow them to just take down towers. Yeah,
I would assume Ziggs bot lane, it kind of... You're not going to kill the Misfortune, but as you said, you're just going to siege down the tower. Though Misfortune does have decent wave clear, especially when you hit 6. You can be resorted to use that bullet time to keep him off your tower. The Gnar getting picked in there for Utah. Curious what Boise State's other pick is going to be. That Gnar would basically confirm that's a Poppy jungle, which is a very interesting pick. I would have almost preferred you flash your support here and keep Boise State off guard. I don't like kind of giving away that your Poppy is in that jungle position, unless it's support Poppy, which is something that has been very rarely seen, but can have some strengths, especially if you're trying to bully around a Ziggs.
Yeah, this tells me that University of Utah is all-inning on the team fighting composition. You want to have the Gnar bar during those fights when you're trying to stun everyone up and allow this Misfortune to just drop the full bullet time damage onto whoever's locked down. So the last of these two picks, expecting another engaged support. Maybe the Amumu or the Leona could also come out here. Rel potentially, but I don't think she's as strong as the Leona with the Misfortune.
If I'm Boise State, I'd probably take away that Leona, especially because of how engaged happy it is. I'd be curious. I mean, you could maybe try a couple other things, but yeah, and there's the Gangplank pick for Boise State, which I really do like. It's something that we haven't seen Elo dad too often, but I think on that Camille, it was a very good pick. It gave him agency in that lane, so I still like the Gangplank. And that's one of those sneaky ones. It's actually, I think, his most played champion in top lane, I think by it's like 300 or 400 games. So the fact he's on not quite a one trick, but something that he's very, very comfortable on, especially this season, is a very good sign for Boise State. As we see, it's actually Utah who takes away the Leona. Interesting, because they would have had first pick in that phase. It's very odd to me that they would take that away, because it fits the style they want to play so well.
Yeah, I won't say that Leona Ziggs is exactly a super powerful lane or anything either, so really interesting they're taking away this pick. The Gangplank in the middle lane, I like the look. It kind of enables you to play that 4-1 style where you can just ult into the fight and allow your team to either disengage or even look to turn it around in some cases and get a pick or something. But I also know the Gangplank in our matchup is heavily Gangplank favored, and so I'm really expecting some pop-off potential here from the Boise State top laner.
Silas gets banned away. There's that Tryndamere banned away. Just has been such a strong pick. I know we've seen Ascent pull it out a couple of times. Been seeing a lot at Worlds and can just really bully down a lane and disrupt this team fighting style. And then there's that Echo. Kind of serves the 2-in-1 purpose, as you mentioned, Sulpan. Takes away a jungle pick. Takes away a mid pick, which is the two. We're looking for a mid pick. We would assume it is Poppy jungle. Maybe it is Poppy support, and that's why you ban away the Leona, because you had first pick if you're Utah here. And they'll talk in the Seraphine, so very interesting. Maybe they had their eyes on Seraphine the whole time. This is going to be a very, very dominant Utah bot lane as Boise State will just pick up the Bard, give them some mobility, and try and make plays around the rest of the map, and probably tell Goblin on that Ziggs, just play careful, be safe, and just clear waves.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it last game that when you lock in the Ezreal, you can allow yourself to just sit back underneath the tower, farm as much as you can at long range. Ziggs can also do that, and then they also lock in the Bard, which is, in theory, the best roaming support in the game. So I'm looking for a Light Pulse this game to just go absolutely nuts on the roams, as long as Ziggs can keep himself alive in that bottom lane. There is, of course, the dive there at the Poppy. Super good at denying the Ziggs' ability to escape, but if he can get the wave at the tower, he might be in an okay spot.
Final picks there for the mid lane. We do get the Syndra and then the Yasuo counter from Utah. Interesting pick. I mean, the Yasuo kind of fits that assassin playstyle you were hinting at Utah wants to play, but is going to be very reliant on that Utah mid laner to land all of their skill shots, if you will, in the tornadoes, because there are no other knock-up assistants for Utah. Besides, they do have the Poppy.
And the Gnar.
What knock-up does Gnar have?
The Gnar.
I thought that just slammed you into a wall.
It technically counts as displacement, so it's not just knockups, it's displacements as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, I did not know. The Poppy one, though, would be kind of funny if you launch someone away and then you send your Yasuo chase. Maybe that's the style. Hey, alt the Ziggs and Yasuo will go flying after. So, yeah, you mentioned it. They want to have a team fight comp here for Utah. Boise State probably going to be a bit more split push and siege happy as we take a look at Doc's keys to the game in League of Legends, which are focus on a strong comp, play to your composition, remember your win condition, and dragon control. It's all brought to you by Drop-In Gaming. Drop-In Gaming, the premier online platform for gamers who seek competition. Play your favorite games to win cash and prizes through free and paid entry matches and tournaments. Whether you're new to the scene or a seasoned veteran, Drop-In Gaming has the right games and competition for you to begin your competitive gaming journey. Sign up at dropingaming.com. I'm curious how Boise State's going to answer that team fight comp that Utah wants to stay, because it's going to be very hard to play around unless you kind of gangplank ult to try and get some assistance, and you just tell your Ziggs and your gangplank, just pick a solo lane and push, and hopefully we win the game before the other team gets too strong.
Yeah, I mean, there is potential with this split push to just enable this gangplank as much as possible. When you lock in the Bard and you lock in the Ziggs, it does say that Boise State wants to play the roaming bot style. So they're not playing for bot lane. They're going to be playing for this gangplank to just completely dumpster this Gnar in the top lane and hopefully get as many plates early game as possible, but then also just constantly threaten there in the top lane and force multiple members of Utah top.
Well, as we hop into the game, does not look like we'll get any invades for Boise State this time around. I want to play this game a little bit slower, and that's something else I think Boise State needs to do, especially into a team fight comp for Utah. They just need to play the game slower. If a fight breaks out and they go 0 for 0, that's better. They don't need to push their advantage, because Utah is going to have so many cooldowns. Unless all of them get exhausted, it's going to be incredibly hard to re-engage for Boise State. So hopefully Boise State just takes a bit of a chill pill. If a fight breaks out, just let the result be as it be. Don't try to make it up at the end to try and get back in the game, because that's how they fell so far behind in our last match.
Yeah, the good news for Boise State here is the Nunu is on the table. So
yeah,
there
true.
won't be that immediate level 2, level 3 bot lane gank that just completely snowballed the game in IWU's favor. Poppy a little bit slower, still has potential to match this Lee Sin in a 2 versus 2. As soon as you can get the block off on one of those dashes, you know, maybe his primary damage ability down in the gank. Make it a lot tougher for him, but we'll have to see. Again, it all comes down to how these junglers path and how they manage to execute with the rest of their team.
Junglers will start on opposite sides of the map. We'll see if either one looks for an invade. I don't expect that. It doesn't look like either of them will, as Boise State will just rotate down, and Poppy will hop over to the Raptors. The Predator Poppy is an interesting one, though, because it does solve some of Poppy's mobility ganking issues. Once they do get their boots, they are going to be able to gank the lane. Of course, everybody's going to see that Predator icon, but that does somewhat help the lack of mobility that the Poppy would have usually into Lee Sin. Also, to counter the Lee Sin, as you said, block a lot of those dashes and ward hops that the Lee Sin wants to do.
And personal take, Predator right now is slept on. They got buffed recently in a patch not too long ago. Goblin should be fine here. But if Predator got buffed recently just to give even more movement speed and have a smaller channel time. So you can pop it much later when you're looking for that gank. But also, just having that extra move speed will allow Poppy to close that gap. But we got an engagement in the middle lane. We also look for the solo kill here onto Ascent. We'll miss that stab towards the Syndra, not allow him to get that tornado. She will be able to escape.
We got some jungle shenanigans going on here. The pings are being spammed. Lee Sin was looking for the blue buff steal. Doesn't look like Mortar got it. Actually, no, never mind. He did actually steal it away for the Poppy. It was hard to tell. They're going to try and go in on that Yasuo. Magical Journey will come out, but Yasuo will just simply walk away to safety. But this fight is not done yet. Everybody is getting in on this mid lane.
Yeah, the tunnel's still there, so everyone can take Magical Journey to join in on this fight. They have 2 extra roam up. Looks like they're trying to get a shove in so they can allow the Yasuo to back here. Many members coming to assist in the mid lane to ensure that this Yasuo can have a good back timing.
They start to rotate down. It is going to be looks like a triple buff start here for Mortar. Going to put that Poppy just a little bit further behind. Woo. Nice use of the barrels there for Elo Dad. Chunking down that Gnar, as you mentioned, a matchup that should favor Gangplank. But Goblin now, he's going to get caught out here.
This is not where you want to be. Warded out and not bush. A good dog on the snare. Might be just enough to get him out, but no, he will fall. No heal. He took exhaust this game. He will not be able to answer back.
Died with the flash up as well. Probably was escapable. I think part of him wanted to be able to kill that misfortune. I think he thought Kodaman could be taken out.
There's potential there. I mean, no Ignite makes it a lot harder, especially with the flash heal available for Misfortune as well. But in the end, it was a well-played move there from U of U to rotate that Seraphine through that bush and try and set up the play onto the Ziggs.
Haven't seen too much from either jungler outside of that brief engagement over the blue buff, but with the triple buff start as Mortar got, he should be able to make some plays happen as Yasuo does get a decent chunk of damage onto Ascent in that mid lane, but nothing too going to come from it. As you do see, was the door and shield start for the Yasuo, so we did want to play very safe. Oh, the barrel just barely missed.
Yeah, it was close there. A little dangerous for Raina to go for the engage, but I keep liking the looks here. Aludad constantly looking to get more harassed towards this Gnar. It will be a 2 versus 3 here in the middle lane as the Bard does join through the magical journey. Mordor was also hovering there, but looks like the action has ended. Syndra's out of mana, and actually it's going to be Zong going aggressive here in the middle lane. Lee Sin rejoined the fight, but now Poppy's here as well. He had 3 versus 3, missing the flash stun, and actually misses the W to deny the Lee Sin damage as well. Yasuo super low here, attempted flash forward to finalize the kill. It's not going to be enough. A 3rd flash forward also does not find the kill. Barely escaping in the mid lane. It'll be a duel on the top lane here. Eating an orange, he'll be okay. And not just that, he'll find a solo kill.
Huge win for Elo Dad. There's so much utility exhausted in that mid lane. I think 4 flashes got burned. Mortar never burned his flash, and now we see Park's going to rotate back down. The Misfortune holding on alone. Teleport does come out. Elo Dad going to camp it with a barrel. Mortar there in case Raina did end up wanting to go in. Hugh's going to land.
Hard to do anything without that kick, of course, but we'll be able to get some grass towards the Gnar and even make this lane just that much easier for Elo Dad once he does return through that teleport. Or at this point, honestly, with the way pushed up where it is, he can just walk back.
Poppy's hanging around up there too in case Boise State wants to make a play, but it does look like everybody's going to back. I'm curious if Elo Dad will channel the teleport. Yes, he will. So it will only be a 4v4 potential at Dragon, though of course Elo Dad can assist with the long range cannon barrage. It's a Cloud Dragon though, so no one's too excited to really take care of that one.
Hey, that 20% can help quite a bit here in the early game. I want some respect on Cloud Dragon's name. I mean, having that extra global cooldown on the Gangplank can be massive here for Elo Dad. I mean, that's just another instance, or a much smaller window for University of Utah to engage on while the Gangplank ult is still down.
I'm a big Cloud Dragon fan. You're preaching to the choir here, Sultan, but clearly no one else in this game is a Cloud Dragon fan, as it does look like Poppy finally pinging towards it. Potentially a fight start here. Rainy just taking so much low. Mega Gnar does come out.
Oh yeah, he's looking for the fight, but I don't know if you want this one. We'll drop the orange. We'll be able to kite on around, grab another grass block off the Gnar, and that's Raina being forced out of lane. That chip damage the Lee Sin contributed, paying off here.
Oh, I think Mortar wants to dive.
There's potential here. We'll be stunning up on the Bard. Force him into the wall. Pack trying to get out of this one. A nice magical journey to just walk through the Raptor wall. He'll be out of this one just fine.
He's got to be careful with that Yasuo having the ult online now. It does look like full Dragon priority is on the side of Utah. They do want to pick up this Cloud Dragon as Mortar is just stealing buff camps away from Brown Sugar. Stealing another red buff, but unfortunately it does look like they might have to trade that one for Dragon. We will see as they're going to start it up. I don't think Boise State gets here in time, though.
Yeah, no one really in range here. No priority in the bottom lane for Ziggs to try and rotate up and getting chip damage on any of these members that are taking it. 3-man strong. It's just a good rotation coming up from the University of Utah.
Would have liked to see maybe Boise State at least drop the cannon barrage. I don't know if Goblin would have had enough ult for the Ziggs ult as well, but both those could have done quite a bit of damage as they did have that Poppy quite low just from the natural Dragon damage. As Syndra nearly gets caught back in there. Luckily closed his shop in time.
Be careful when you're playing against Yasuo. Just gets to those minions so quickly. But now it's Syndra on low mana here in mid. Could be a chance for Zong to just shove on in to get either create a really bad backtiming for the Syndra or just enable himself to continue to deny creeps to her.
too crazy in the bot lane, though. The Zig's out of mana. There's the ult just to deny minions, it looks like.
Yeah, just wants to try and get the shove in so he can look for it back himself. So a lot of resources being burned just to enable back timings for both these teams. We saw multiple members come up mid to help the Yasuo at some point. Just saw an ultimate drop there in the bottom lane. Both these teams seem pretty content to just farm this one out.
A bit of a battle over that control wars there in the river bush. Poppy will be forced away, and now Boise State may be looking for an engage with Mortar level 6, or maybe it's a magical journey right onto Zong. That's what they're trying to set up here. They just need that Zasuo to push a little bit further. Here they go.
Magical journey forward. Looks like Zong will be safe underneath his tower there. Reading this one, able to just walk on out. No flash available, so I like the look on the Yasuo, but again, just very hard to gank when he's playing this safe.
Top lane now is where Boise State has their eyes on. Looks like they do want to claim the Rift Herald as well, as Elodad is just starting to build a nice CS lead over Reyna. Up to 18 now, and kind of help neutralizing that CS gap in the bot lane between the Misfortune and the Ziggs.
May just caught out an immense corridor here on this jungle, and there's a knockup from the Poppy. The displacement does count there on that E as well. Looks like the Dragon's Rage available to look for the disengage. No kick gonna come through though. They haven't been able to take over this Rift Herald area. Elodad trying to find a way to fight back into this one. Just chasing forward onto the game plan. Will land the slow. Might have the potential to look for the kill here, but the chase will not continue. Still looking at a potential chance to steal. Might does do 9-handed, but is currently down with some of the Bard. Will just delete the Bard. Brown Sugar picking up one here on the Rift Herald fight. Will also claim the objective itself. Taking that enhanced recall on the way back. It could drop that for some plates here in the early game.
That was a great rotation over by Utah, kind of predicting after that mid gank. They saw Boise State, Mortar, and Park rotate towards Rift Herald, towards top lane. They call that one out. They're able to get a great pick onto Mortar using that Poppy ult and the Yasuo ult in combination for the knockup. And now I'm curious what Boise State wants to do, because again, now is a case, Solpan, of they just stayed too long. They lost Lee Sin. They could have just simply walked away, but they ended up losing the Bard as well, who was looking for maybe a steal onto Rift Herald. Wanted to see Boise State practice just disengaging from fights they don't need to take.
This tower still nice and healthy, and Goblin wanted to go for some plates, but now he's in trouble. A flash stun into the wall. Will be an instant kill here for the Misfortune. And that's Bard trying to find a way out of this one. Will stun up the Poppy, but she's just able to auto him, not taking any damage here through that shield. And just through her innate tankiness, Bard forced out through the magical journey.
Looks like this potentially is a Rift Herald bot lane. No turret is really close to dying, so this would just be able to pick up some extra plates. It's actually Elodad who's closest in terms of picking up plates. He would have loved a Rift Herald here. It looks like another attempted gank onto this Yasuo.
Here it comes. They got 3 man coming in on the mid lane here. Zong gonna get dropped with the cannon barrage as well. Gets sent into the wall. No windroll available there. He's burned it a little bit early in the fight. A great double snare. A great encore from Mika for the engage. But where is the follow-up damage? Poppy looking to continue this crowd control chain. Will trade back the Lee Sin. Poppy goes on a rampage. Brown Sugar arriving at the right place, right time. Combos everything perfectly to take a 1-for-1 trade there in the mid lane.
It's like Mika and Brown Sugar potentially looking for a play on that top side where Elodad has been bullying Rainey all night long. CS lead up there has ballooned to almost 30, and despite the kill differential, Boise State only down 300 gold, actually less than 300 gold right now, and now they might be able to get a pick here onto the Misfortune, but a great make it rain is going to slow them in their tracks.
And so much of this gold lead is currently stored up in these solo laners for Boise State. 30 CS lead here in the top lane, another 30 CS lead here on the Syndra in the mid lane. These sub laners are going to be crucial to Boise State making a comeback here in this game. Not too far down, so they're not hurting too bad, but there is also still some gold kind of just hovering in no man's land with this Poppy hanging on to that Rift Herald.
Yeah, Poppy also has almost all of the gold for Utah at 4-0-0. Already has the Divine Thunder finished, so activated already. You've got a Dragon coming up here in just a little bit. About 30 seconds away from spawning on the Rift. And there is the Ocean Dragon right on cue.
Showing up just in time. A lot of members here. Looks like Boise State wants to try and fight for this one, but one player is already gone. Goblin just gets deleted. I'm trying to get the magical journey there. Bard will get stunned up by the Yasuo. Great disengage here from Ascent to keep the Yasuo at bay and away from the Bard. There is still steal potential here. Lee Sin, one of the best owners in the game, by trying to make a steal like this happen, but at 3 versus 4 and bleeding health bars, looks like Boise State just wants to disengage.
They don't have the Cannon Barrage either. They won't have the Gnar. Alt Dragon does briefly reset, but what?
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 They're pulling it out. They're
okay.
pulling it out.
I was like, You could have just finished it. I understand why they did it, trying to stop the Lee Sin steal. Will be a Mountain Soul for the rest of the game with Utah already up 2. And that was interesting pathing there by Goblin. Kind of just, whenever there's a Poppy, you always have to remember that walls are now no longer your best friend, because just ate a stun right to the face and got eliminated before anything could happen.
Yeah, I mean, you just saw the brutal burst damage come through. Misfortune, Seraphine, so good at delivering that. Dagon's looking for a solo kill here. Encore will connect. Not going to find any kind of follow-up damage here. Mika able to escape. Bleeding, though, just like the Ziggs, who takes front of that engagement. Actually stunning up the tower. This timing is perfect. It will deny the Rift Herald plate gain. And Brown Sugar, despite pulling that Rift Herald, despite holding onto it for so long, will not find an opportunity to use it.
Great play. Now we go top lane.
And in some trouble here. We'll get slowed up by everything coming at him. Elodeb will find it with the Cannon Barrage. And a lot of damage from the Syndra.
That was mere moments away from probably that Gnar surviving. They had the Mega Gnar bar almost ready to go up in the high 90s, maybe low 90s. And that was so close to Gnar surviving with that HP burst that he would have gained. But again, that was a great play by Bar that we didn't want to touch on, as you mentioned, denying the charge from the Rift Herald. So for all that work, for stealing it away, for holding it for so long, you got 0 plate value, you got 0 gold value, and that's almost all of the value that Rift Herald brings. Goblin, what are you doing?
Oh no, this is not the fight you want. Misfortune's in that bush. She drops the bullet time, and Goblin goes down in the bottom lane. There's still potential here in mid. Syndra got a lot of kill pressure here, honestly, over this. He also has burst damage, but this is a great wind wall to start it all off, and then the Poppy E immediately followed by the Yasuo ultimate will mean that there is a fallen Syndra here in the mid lane.
Fantastic play by Utah playing around Brown Sugar. Here comes Park, but there's nobody else here. Mortar's finally here, but gets stunned against the wall.
Park taking so much damage. The crowd control chain was perfect there on the wall. Everyone using their combo just at the right time to ensure that Park would go down, despite being right next to a magical journey tunnel.
That's the unfortunate thing for the Bard into this matchup, is that anytime you want a magical journey, there is an opportunity for Brown Sugar to stun you against the wall. Not the first time they had pulled it off, but this time they were able to get the kill. Elodad is doing work, though, in that top lane. You see that CS difference is now ballooning up into the 40s. It's going to be very hard for Rainy here to be able to hold on in this solo lane. First tower should go over to Boise State potentially if Elodad can keep pushing without any issue, especially with the Mega Gnar just being built up there. I don't know who slows down this gangplank, and Boise State's trying to make it happen as well.
Yeah, just gotta give a shout out to Park here for making the play in mid that probably actually ensured that Boise State would get first tower here. They just need to play a little bit harder here on the top lane and ensure that mid lane doesn't go down one more time, and they can claim this gold solo for the gangplank.
Does look like Mortar will hop onto the second Rift Herald. Hopefully 1 to deny more tower value, 2 to prevent any tower shenanigans. But again, this should be all Elodad unless he's going to prioritize trading instead. Does have to be careful with the melee versus range. Can take a lot of harass on the way out. But with the Demolish,
a little bit of trouble here. Should be just fine. Demolish proc hasn't come through just yet. Looks like they're trying to commit for the tower take, but no, just not in time. Those Demolish procs not coming through. Lee Sin in trouble here. Will manage to secure the spite, but can they make it to the Rift Herald in time? The ultimate goes wide for Bard, not going to help anyone. And unfortunately, the Rift Herald is sitting right there, but no one can touch it. Ascent has a chance to run on in for it. Mika very low here. Elodad trying to find a way into the jungle. Lots of pings going down, but no one can make it to this buff.
I think Syndra did end up picking it up. It does look like, yeah, Syndra has it in their inventory, so Ascent did end up making it over there. I think there's a chance Boise State didn't know it was theirs.
They should have gotten the indicator. I think it was just they couldn't find a way into the pit to actually pick up that buff for themselves. So she does not have the Rift Herald. Would be the first tower option actually being this middle lane instead, as Elodad was unable to take it with those Demolish blocks, but man, that is satisfying to watch.
That is so much. Silver Serpent's being picked up by Gangplank with his hidden currency. That's just so much wave clear. And yeah, the mid tower is almost full health for Utah, so it is going to be hard for Ascent to drop it mid and be able to pick up the tower. But I would assume as long as Boise State can hold off bot lane, they should be able to get it. I'm surprised Elodad did not prioritize the Demolish. There it is. It's going to be popped in the mid just to be able to get some extra chip damage, but I don't think it'll actually take out the tower. No, the tower is way too healthy for that.
Not going to happen. It will bring it extremely low, though, and then you have that opportunity where you can kind of set up University of Utah for failure by sieging that tower and then harden committing underneath it. But here comes Poppy with, will just force the flash and is happy to disengage with that single spell burn.
Boise State wants a tower dive in the top lane. You can see it. Meganar's been procced. I would assume as soon as Meganar falls, it's either a dive for first tower or it's a dive for a kill. But they unfortunately are going to trade out one tower for Soul Point, as Utah will recognize that, and they will easily pick up their third dragon of the game, and they are now one more away from Mountain Soul.
Yeah, Boise State doesn't want to contest this just yet. The gangplank is strong, but it's not going to win you the team fight immediately. That's what they need. If they tried to fight this out 5v5 on that Earth Dragon, even though it's Soul Point, they would have just lost so much more gold and advantage here in this game. And it looks like they're just targeting to bullying out this poor Gnar. Reyna shouldn't be going down here. Elodad's going to pick up yet another one. But in the middle lane, they're trading 1-for-1 as Kodama is able to go on a rampage against Syndra.
Again, though, this feels like the Boise State game plan. The Ziggs hasn't been able to get the tower value you would like to expect, but they wanted to set up Elodad. Now here comes the forces. It's a three-man return from the top lane. Unfortunately, Utah's going to pull off the tower in time, and Boise State can't find a pick, or can they?
Ooh, that's a good ult to start this one off. Not finding damage just yet. TP might be dangerous here for Boise State, getting stunned immediately to the wall. Poppy finding yet another stun onto the bar. Will be the kill, going over to Zhonglu. On the Yasuo. Now the tower dive might just come through. They're able to take this tower in the middle lane, opening up the map. But they do not want to continue this dive. Watch out for the Lee Sin Q syndrome, but it won't come through. Karama is going to survive here and just be content to take the wave. 1-4-0 there in that mid lane exchange.
Again, thanks to Boise State's fantastic farming and picking up first tower, despite being outkilled 3-1. The gold lead is still less than 3K, and that gangplank with the last whisper, with the SSV we're already finished, not the last whisper, the Immortal Shield Book, excuse me, and the SSV we're already finished. I don't know if anyone can 1v1 this gangplank.
It shouldn't be possible. I think the only one who stands a chance is, of course, the Poppy, who's almost able to match him at 2 items. Even then, though, you manage to set up the gangplank, you get orange out of it. He has a lot of options to deal with your initial burst. And then Poppy, she's got Predator. She doesn't have Conqueror or something that can help in a sustained fight. Gangplank will eventually win that.
You have the wild card there as well for Kodama. With the Armor Pen misfortune with the Eclipse, plus that Yomu's already finished, can do a lot of damage with that bullet time, which is exactly what this comp for Utah wants to pull off. Is they just want to dive somebody, and it looks like Ascent on that top lane Syndra is about to feel what's coming his way here.
Yeah, it's the old top lane treatment. Unfortunately, Elodad isn't up there to absorb any of this pressure. It'll actually Syndra, and wisely sniffing this one out, actually. Ascent's just going to back off this tower. They're seeing them stacking in this area, but it's Boise State getting value on the opposite side of the map, doing what they need to just trade objectives and not give up any more kills.
The tower goes down for that Gangplank, who is unmatched. But we do see Zhonglu's able to pick one up as well. The attempted push Wookiee strategy does not pay off for Utah. They eventually run out of time. And this next dragon that's going to be up in a few minutes is going to be very, very huge, because those Mountain Dragon shields are going to make a team fighting comp even more likely to want to dive right on top of it because they have that extra health. So Boise State has got to prioritize this next dragon. And if I'm Utah, now you can start to consider to trade 4th dragon for Baron.
Yeah, it's an option that's on the table for them, absolutely. It's hard to pull off without having your lane set up correctly. And right now, they're doing a good job, but playing into his Ziggs, he'll just instantly wave clear it right back at you, and you have to deal with getting that vision in the mid lane once again. So Boise State setting up right here, almost is going to take this wave immediately, and then they can look for the dragon.
Heavily warded by Utah. Utah backing and resetting. Should have just about every summoner on the table here when this dragon does come up, unless another fight breaks out. But again, if you're Boise State, you have to be careful. Utah could easily trade this dragon because they don't care if you get one Mountain Dragon for a Baron, which would be very hard with how well they've been pushing. Maybe if you're Boise State, you try and just trade Mountain Soul for a Baron, because you get Baron on this Gangplank. We already know very few people can even challenge him. If he gets Baron, it's going to be that much harder.
This is going to hurt to start. You're going to lose your misfortune immediately. Shut down gold on the Gangplank as well, but here comes the reinforcements. They want to try and get some form of revenge here. Gangplank in a lot of trouble. They'll be able to get out through the tunnel. That's the Grimmy coming in clutch there. And now Lee Sin wants to keep the fight. Shot down onto the jungler. It's all falling apart here for University of Utah. Encore almost able to answer back multiple targets, but everyone's already dead. It's too little, too late. Nard can do nothing here against the onslaught of Boise State. Finally, the investment in Gangplank has paid off.
Great pick by Elodad. The Baron pings go out. And now Boise State should be able to pick up this Well, they have to they know they have to take Dragon. They can't leave it up.
Yeah, I have to say, I disagree with the call here. If you have 4 members down on the enemy team, you can send just your Lee Sin to solo out that Dragon and then join the rest of your team. I mean, I guess they could have also sent Gangplank. They have options and they could have sent over. Either way, they didn't have confidence in that Baron take, but in the end, they're going to find yet another pick here towards mid lane, and they could just look for these towers instead of the neutral objectives.
I'm right there with you. I think you pick up the Baron because the Dragon took so long to spawn. I mean, yes, you did end up getting a kill on Misfortune, but I feel like you could have got the Baron and either reset or just rotated down to the Dragon because of how far away it was spawning. That seemed like a very interesting call for Boise State, but it pays off. They deny the Mountain Soul, but don't really get a whole lot more value besides the kill on Misfortune, but they're all going to reset, so they're not going to be able to make a play off of it.
The most important thing here is they got the shutdown gold, and a lot of that went to Elodad. He is now with the Infinity Edge stacked up here. 3-item Gangplank at this point in the game is going to just basically one-shot your roster. So at this point, Utah has to be so careful. Misfortune being that static and stationary AD carry. When her flash is down, she has no way to escape these barrel combos other than some intuition and speed.
If Boise State can somehow line up a good bullet time where they're able to dodge it, that bullet time is going to be a dead Misfortune just because the barrels can line up. And I'm curious what they want to do. Do they want to have Elodad keep shoving? Because he is their best player. I think without Elodad, Boise State is going to struggle in some fights because you look, the Syndra's 0-2, the Ziggs is 1-4. It's only really Mortar who has kills, so the fact that Elodad's kind of off pushing means this could be a fight for Utah if they want to take it.
They need to be careful here, though. Ziggs is doing all damage to that tower. There it comes. The tower execution. Looking for the play on top of it all. Encore does come out. Here comes the combo. Cannon Barrage plus Fireball plus the Ziggs Mega Inferno Bomb doing so much damage. They're going to clean up the defenders of these mid lane towers for University of Utah. And Boise State's looking at least an inhibitor.
Elodad taking the tower, forced to heal up. No, they want more.
Bringing it in. Here comes the Dragon's Rage, kicking back to Yasuo, but actually immaculately played here by Zhonglu. He's going to turn this one around. Will actually shut down the Lee Sin, and so his inhibitor is no longer in their grasp. Will be forced out here away from the base of University of Utah. A slight overcommittal on the resources here again for Boise State means that they will not find this mid lane push.
Luckily, Boise State had got a pick onto Brown Sugar, so no Baron take. You can see the pings coming out from Utah, pinging that Baron. They know Mortar's going to be dead for the next 20 seconds. They will have their jungler. Don't have a great Baron team besides that Misfortune with all that damage, so very curious if they're attempting to burn it down. I think now they realize maybe it's just best to bait it or at least ward it off.
I mean, just getting some vision down here. Their waves are absolutely not in a position where they could try and go through this. There's that wave top lane they got to worry about. Looks like bot lane's also pushing, and mid lane's perfectly neutral. With all 3 members of Boise State arriving here, there's no way they can make this push happen. It will just be resetting, going back to kind of a neutral state on the map here, and Boise State with a slight advantage just thanks to the insane power of Elodad's bringing to these fights. Oh, here comes a Bard looking for the stun onto the Yasuo. Good win to keep him alive. Actually sustaining him through the Ziggs ultimate as well. Bard's overextended, and now Goblin's in a whole lot of trouble here. He'll be Rain just autoing him down little by little. Yasuo actually goes over the wall. Not sure that was intentional. Does use the shutdown regardless. And just like that, University of Utah puts this one back on its head. Baron attempt still extremely risky. You're playing into a Gangplank that's extremely fed, but looking for more stuns here. We'll just shove out the Syndra. Good stun by the Lee Sin to make sure she doesn't commit all the way into the team. Poppy forced out here. 4 members strong in Baron Pit. No jungler available. She was distracted so extremely low. Cannon Barrage doing so much damage to prevent University of Utah from taking this immediately. Pulling the Sonic Wave, not letting him get just yet. A lot of damage comes through. Misfortune finally dropping the bullet time, but it doesn't land on anyone. Gangplank still alive in this fight. That's the one member that matters the most. That's 1,000 gold shutdown. They want to try and chase this one forward. Elodad on the way out, doing a lot of damage, but might be able to sustain through all of this. It is Bard in the fight as well. Will manage to pick up a godlike kill on the way out, just sniping away with yet another bullet. And it's still University of Utah risking it all by chasing into this. Will be able to set up the Bard. Will be able to get a lot of damage down. Park falls once again, but he risked it. He risked his life to stop that Baron. It did pay off.
Boise State at least able to hold off on the Baron. 3-for-3 trade in that second fight. And unfortunately for Boise State, again, that was what cost them in that first game. They just get too aggressive. That all started because Park thought he had a cheesy little pick onto the Yasuo who was backing, and even though the ult landed, Boise State immediately got caught off guard because they didn't have that Gangplank who is a source of half their kills, and I would say about 70% of their damage.
Yeah, hear me out, ping difference. Unfortunately, when you play the Yasuo there, you are in the golden, thanks to the Bard. You throw out the wind wall, immediately you're spamming that key. If you get that out in time, you didn't get stunned, you managed to avoid the Ziggs damage. That wind wall had so much value, and it was, it's not entirely ping difference, it's also a little bit of skill and mistiming from the Bard. But honestly, that Yasuo played that fight so incredibly well. Vayne in a lot of trouble here on the side. Gets completely chunked out. It's actually just on the side border looking for the solo kill on the Seraphine. Might be able to do it, at least just forcing her away from the team. Conqueror is proc. She'll be going down here, and the rest of the team's just zoning off. University of Utah are looking for the hard engage. Will manage to find a way on in. A good bullet time will start it out, but Zonius keeps the entire team alive. Yasuo to the back line. It's going to be Zhongli trying to make the play, trying to clutch up the University of Utah. Poppy ulting out too. A great shutdown here for Syndra. Just picking up the Yasuo on the side is Park in the back line, just delaying these recall timing, denying him the ability to escape. Will be 2 more members going down here, most likely. Rain at least gonna fall. Poppy able to escape on the side. Dragon absolutely going uncontested to Boise State.
Boise State picks up a solid 3 kills in that very long fight. They'll pick up another Dragon, while the other 2 members in the Ziggs and the Gangplank will look to shove mid. We did get a brief look at the gold. Gangplank almost up to 15,000 gold. No one else on Boise State before that fight started was above 10,000. That is just how far ahead Elo Dad is and how scary he is to the Utah team. As Goblin just gets caught out.
Yeah, it's the Poppy Sun once again. Flashing forward, of course, and burning some more resources, but she does manage to take out the Ziggs. And there's things going down with this Baron. 10 seconds on the Gnar. He does have teleport. This is out. This is totally in the cards for University of Utah. Teleporting down with the Yasuo as well. They want to try and get as many members here as quickly as possible. They have all the vision on top of it too. Teleport coming out from Gangplank to try and prevent this one. Down to 3/4 HP so far. They technically have 3 carries with the Yasuo. Down to half. Boise State not going to make it to the pit in time. This one should be going over to University of Utah. Boise State looking for the contest. Blows up there. It's stolen! Stolen away from the Mordor. And now everyone in the pit is in so much trouble. Gangplank has arrived. Stopping the bullet time with the golden mode. Bard on the way out of this fight for Boise State. Being turned around on here. Gangplank has fallen. Boise State steals the Baron, but at what cost? The Mordor's trying to get out away from this fight. Bard will fall here to the Gnar stuns in the end, and the Mordor, he can try and clutch up, try and be the sole surviving member with this Baron. Has the ward over the wall, looking to try and make the backcoming happen. He's got Baron for it, no flash available on Poppy. He'll actually escape. Gets Baron, gets out, and despite losing out in kills, that was 4 versus 5. Boise State escaped with the 1 member remaining on the siege buff.
Really denying that Baron for Utah, the more important thing in that fight. Even though Boise State, as you mentioned, will only have the 1 player with it. Again, just look at how far ahead Elo Dad is of everyone. A almost 3K gold lead on the next closest player in the game. And nearing a 5K gold lead on his own team. And as soon as that Gangplank went down, Boise State had to run for the hills. If you're a Utah fan, you know the plan has to be get onto this Gangplank and immediately eliminate them. You cannot allow him to get value on your back line. But that's going to be tough just because, 1, how strong he is, how fed he is. He's chunking people for half their life with barrels. And 2, you only have a great way to dive specifically onto the Gangplank. You just kind of have to hope either the Poppy ult or the E or even the Gnar ult lands onto the Gangplank and Yasuo can follow it up.
In theory, with smart positioning, you can just avoid most of the attempted crowd control here from University of Utah. The only thing you have to worry about is Encore, and that's the one ability that he should be saving the orange for. So Elo Dad's in a great position to just take over this game. You're seeing the damage he's doing in team fights. He's just to continue that success. Here now splitting in this top lane. Wants to try and take down 1 more tower for Boise State. They can rotate up to this, of course, as well. Park down here in the bottom lane. Looking to get some vision down, trying to escape here from Brown Sugar. And that's not a good way to leave that tunnel, but looks like University of Utah was not aware. They thought he made it all the way out. And they will be able to just disengage here from the jungle. Elo Dad taking yet another turret top lane means more gold in the pocket of all Boise State members. They're going to feel happy about that one.
Thanks to Elo Dad, Boise State has really stayed in this game. 8-1-8, the Immortal Shield Bow is up. Curious where Boise State wants to push. It looks like with the Ascent already down there, they're potentially going to go down to that bot tier 2. Really just clear out all the towers, start giving them push advantage in every lane as the super minions are starting to make their presence felt in that mid lane against Utah. And really, they don't have great wave clear outside that Yasuo and the MF, so it's going to take a little bit more to clear those super minions than it would for a different team.
Big shout out to Mr. Elo Dad this game. doing a phenomenal job of keeping Boise State alive here in game one. All hopes and dreams riding on the Gangplank's abilities to just chunk out University of Utah in all these fights. Doing a great job positioning barrels, making sure he's keeping himself alive, and also denying objectives, of course, with the barrels and the cannon barrage. Constantly just a huge threat here for Boise State.
Every dragon for Boise State still of high priority because Utah, thanks to their early dragon control, is on Soul Point. They just need one more. Boise State, they can get the next one. Makes the dragon after that a bit more interesting if we're still playing. And I'm very curious how hesitant Boise State wants to be. There's no main objectives up. The dragon will be up soon. With these super minions pushing, Utah really can't afford to leave their base.
It makes it tough. I mean, Boise State's taken every tower on the map, so getting vision in their jungle on top of just leaving out through these lanes is so risky because there can be a Boise State member behind basically every single lapse of vision that University of Utah is unable to grab through a lack of ability to avoid these jungle entrances. Finally getting something out there in mid lane. Here's a cannon barrage. Here's an attempt to engage. Do they want more? Yasuo drops to a quarter off of a single Gangplank barrel. Poppy gonna save him there. Here comes the Bartleman. Boise State still looking to try and chase this one down. Narbar is popped. There's some risk chasing into that one, so Boise State will disengage. They force out a lot of cooldowns and just take positioning on the map over University of Utah.
Looks like they will just simply take that trade. They will walk over to Dragon, knowing there's nothing that Utah could do to match it. The inhibitor in the mid lane will respawn. But this will be a free Dragon for Boise State. I don't think Utah's going to get here in time. They'll flash the masteries, and Boise State will move on to their own Soul Point. Took them a lot longer. They're going to be very tanky as well as those Mountain Dragons do start to stack up. Do you think we'll see Mountain Soul this game, Soulpan? Do you think we'll last another 6 minutes?
I think we absolutely will. I mean, these teamfights have been close. But we got Anar getting bullied once again. Poor Reyna has been the target of so much pressure this game for Boise State. Will manage to go Mega. Might be able to get just some stuns off. You know what? Add to your CC score. Makes you look better in the post-game lobby stats. Will manage to help a few members, but there's a 4-man push, it looks like, in the top lane here for University of Utah.
Boise State should take that reset and back, try and stop the Yasuo and the Poppy. As Yasuo, Zhongli has kind of realized, well, why don't I just do what Elo Dad does on this Yasuo? Very hard to 1v1. They've got Poppy kind of shadowing there. Boise State does spot it out. Tier 2 top tower will fall, and Starslix will wait for another Baron here and see who comes out on top in a smite battle.
A lot of pings going down here on the park. So to clear out some of this vision. I don't think Boise State knows there's Yasuo sitting here. We'll just try and disengage from this one. He can't walk next to a wall though. Mordor being incredibly disciplined there to avoid the Poppy stun, but there will be a Bard going straight into the fight off the back of an Encore. And now the Lee Sin's in trouble here. Mordor getting engaged on, pops up in the wall. He can't dodge that one. Can't do it twice. Ziggs will look for some return damage, but Boise State, now with the Baron open, have to try and defend against University of Utah, 5-man strong. The right members are up right now though. The jungler is down, yes, but they have Elo Dad, they have Cinder, and they have Ziggs. So much potential to chunk out these members before the Baron fight starts and deny them the ability to take this safely. Teleport just comes in, looks like University of Utah trying to commit to this one. With the cannon barrage, Seraphine keeping him on barely healthy there with the shields and the heals. And Reyna on the side, zoning out with the Mega Gnar. Health bar is extremely low here in the pit. What can they do? No steal this time. Yearly sits down. Elo Dad will also fall. One gets traded out. That's Poppy going down. How much more can they get? They got 2 AP long-range mages. They can't exactly chase forward. University of Utah realizes this. They're just going to be able to disengage. No more poke potential to be had. A great ultimate, actually. Goblin cleaning up his performance from earlier on in this game. Finding a great pick there on University of Utah. Denying the backtimers on top of it all. Making it just impossible. He really is living up to his name here, being a complete goblin. University of Utah is so afraid of these Zig bombs. So many caution pings going out there saying, leave, leave, please get out, just leave. Stop greeting these backtimers in the dry bush. And finally, University of Utah will reset.
Huge pick for Goblin. Even though Boise State didn't get the Baron, they did deny it onto 2 members of Utah. So at least there's only going to be 3, but I think the Yasuo is going to be the hardest one because he can definitely walk off Zhongli can and solo push a wave. As he stayed up with the rest of his team, does have that Guardian Angel now finished. And it looks like it really is going to come down to, I think, the Gangplank versus Yasuo and who gets more value here, Soulpan. They're both they're the leading CS members on both teams, both over 300, both of them basically fully built. Yasuo does has a stopwatch in addition to the Guardian Angel, so probably going to use that for one fight before selling it. And I'm very curious who can get more value in what could be our next and last team fight, especially if Utah wins with all those Baron buffs.
Yeah, it's really sneaky at this point in the game to be buying that stopwatch so late too. Boise State obviously knows that he has a Guardian Angel, right? It shows on his passive. But if you're not constantly checking tab, looking at the Yasuo and trying to make sure that he's not buying something cheeky like this, you don't expect Yasuo to have an extra stopwatch. He's not going to build Zhonya's Hourglass. Why would he do that? So having this extra stopwatch might come in super clutch. Keep an eye on Zhonglu. Use this effectively in the next fight. We might have it just a second.
A little bit of damage goes out. Looks like both sides looking for a pick. Gnar is not there. Does not have a teleport if Boise State wants to start this fight.
Brown Sugar was looking for the engage, but just gets scared off there by the entire team collapsing. Predator now burned. Dragon not spawning anytime soon just yet, but you gotta be careful. Baron on that 50-second timer as well. Multiple neutral objectives coming up here. Will be a great engage here from Pack. But can they follow up on this one? Nar will just get deleted. Many ultimates burned here to pick him up. And now the Poppy does manage to stun up Pack. He'll get snared up as well. Boise State too afraid to support the Bard. He went a little bit too far there on that engagement. Now they're stuck in the 4 versus 4. Support for top laner. That's not a bad trade. See what they can do here now to zone out the rest of the members of Utah. They have so much zone control. Ziggs Bomb, Syndra, Gangplank Barrels. There's no opportunity for University to just walk onto their team as long as they play the map correctly. Positioning is crucial here for Boise State. Looks like University of Utah is going to try and force down through the bottom lane here. They still have to walk through these barrels to be able to kite back. Good slow land from this Fortune. No bullet time coming out just yet. Playing on a nice edge here for this Soul. Warrior not going to take that Q on in. No Guardian Angel on him either. No stopwatch available either, so if he goes in, he's most likely getting blown up. He doesn't find an insane engagement. Knowing this, playing super far back, trying to zone out more members of this team. Dragon's dead! Boise State just sneak it away. They put so much damage on top of it. Just burst it out with the Gangplank Ziggs combination. And they'll just walk away from this one scot-free, it looks like. Barb joining this fight. Park not aware that they're just chasing through the jungle. University of Utah so incredibly aggressive. Might be able to escape. This is an overcommittal from University of Utah. This is horrible. Why would you follow through that tunnel? Encore going to go wide. Ziggs Bomb going to find a lot of damage. Zhong Li will go down. And finally the pressure seems to have cracked University of Utah. Boise State going to try and chase on forward as well. Will to find a stun, blowing up the last 2 remaining members there in the middle lane. Reyna now in a lot of trouble here on this Gnar. Looks like they're going to send one member. It's going to be Elo that to deny these back timers. The rest of Boise State charging up the middle lane. The rest of them will collapse. 2 versus 5 here. Defense has to be perfect for University of Utah to stay alive in this first game. Also playing into that Earth Soul is not going to help them. Inhibitor will fall. What can they do here? Bullet time already down. No Narbar available. Boise State wants to try and take this one right here, right now. Box deleting the towers. Ziggs deleting the towers. There's no hope here for Utah. They just simply don't have the DPS to get through these remaining members. Finally, the last 2 will fall. The Nexus will fall, and Boise State will take game 1 over University of Utah.
It's a great job by Boise State. Huge shout out to Elo Dad, keeping the Broncos in that for so long. Finally able to come out on top there in game number 1. Don't forget that Boise State Esports is always looking for talented players, production, and broadcast members. Good grades can earn you scholarships as well. If you want more information, check them out, boisestate.edu/esports. Don't forget as well, if you're in the area coming up on Saturday, you don't have any plans for Halloween, come on by the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena and check out our Halloween party right here presented by the Idaho Army National Guard. Fantastic win in game number 1. We'll see if Boise State can complete the sweep. It took them a while. Felt like it was one-sided with Utah for a long time, but finally Elo Dad was just too big to fail. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back with game 2 here in our Halloween Classic between Boise State and Utah right after this.
NationalGuard.com to begin your guard adventure. Visit NationalGuard.com to begin your guard adventure.
Hello and welcome back into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. Halloween Classic, League of Legends, Boise State and Utah going at it here. Boise State sitting at 4-1 right now, looking to move to 5-1. Fish and Soulpan calling all of the action. We just saw a crazy game one between these two teams. Soulpan, Boise State behind for so long. Finally, Elo Dad, who had been farming all game, had gotten the gangplank into the Gnar. Actually, the Gnar picked into the gangplank, which was an interesting choice. And Boise State finally comes out on top, ends up winning thanks to Elo Dad and some good play from the rest of the team. And I'm very curious. You could assume gangplank's probably going to be banned. So I'm very curious who's going to step up here for Boise State, because I think Utah's going to do everything in their power to not let it be Elo Dad.
Man, I would hope at the very least that they leave gangplank open. Just don't pick Gnar into it. That was an odd choice to say the least, but also if they do end up going towards banning this gangplank, you're leaving either Camille, Rumble, and one other select ban open. So you could go with the Camille, Rumble, gangplank bans, but you're leaving so much open for the rest of Boise State that I don't think it's a risk worth taking.
The one thing I could think for Utah, if you want to do that, you can pick blue side. So you can go Camille, Rumble, Gangplank, and then first pick the Lee Sin if you wanted to maybe take that away. They did ban the Lucian last time. Again, Lucian Nami, a very, very strong lane. It's not something I think Boise State has too much interest in playing. Now watch them pick it and me be totally wrong. But I think that the Lucian was more of just a game one. It's something that's really strong in the meta. We don't want to play against it. So I think you could get rid of the Lucian, and maybe that's where you slot the Gangplank in. As you mentioned, the Camille's up. You're probably going to have to pick between either banning Camille/Lee Sin or picking Camille/Lee Sin. And I would assume you got a top lane Kled one trick. Probably just pick the Gangplank, or probably pick the Lee Sin, take it away from Boise State, force them onto something else, because I thought Mortar had a ton of great value on that Lee Sin, and then let your Kled one trick pick whatever he wants to into Elo Dad if possible, just as long as it's not picking a counter matchup into one of Elo Dad's best champions.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough up there on the top lane, I think, no matter what for this team. You play the Kled. Boise State, there's no way they're going to let you have that. They made it clear in that first ban phase, of course. And if you end up opting to try and ban out this top laner, you're just leaving up too much else on the map. I think one thing that was interesting last phase too is when you ban out the Lucian, I mean, I know the Lucian's supposed to be a bottom laner now, but it's also still a really good counter to Gangplank just because of the barrels. Maybe that was like the trigger for Boise State to say, look, the counter pick's banned out, let's just lock in the Gangplank, and they did a phenomenal job playing it.
I'm curious if Boise State will potentially try and flex to the Misfortune if they do get red side, because we know Misfortune is very strong. I thought that it was played very well by Kodiyama. Unfortunately, just at the end got picked off because the barrels for Gangplank were just one-shotting everybody. But as we get ready to hop into Pro Draft, we get Doc's keys to the game, which are focus on a strong comp, play to your composition, remember your win con, and Dragon Control. Doc's keys brought to us by Drop-In Gaming. Drop-In Gaming, the premier online platform for gamers who seek competition. Play your favorite games to win cash and prizes through free and paid entry matches and tournaments. Whether you're new to the scene or a seasoned veteran, Drop-In Gaming has the right games and competition for you. To begin your competitive gaming journey, sign up at dropingaming.com. Boise State and Utah going at it, hoping to get Game 2 Pro Draft here started at any moment. And again, I think a lot of the questions are going to revolve around that Gangplank, who you replace it for in your pick bans. I would assume Utah goes blue because, again, they get that 4th pick because, again, there's just so many strong champions because you have to ban the Rumble. If you don't know, it's because our Boise State mid laner plays a ton of Rumble. He's a Rumble one-trick. You can't let that through. And then you've got to somehow deal with the Gangplank, the Lee Sin, and the Camille. And I think Boise State says, fine, take the Lee Sin. We just get Xin Zhao. So I think Boise State's setting themselves up to be in a really, really good position based off how Game 1 is played, unless by some miracle they're going to take the Gangplank on Utah's side and say, we can play it better.
I mean, there is also the potential here that when Utah does default to that blue side, it could free up that Camille ban. Just because your top laner plays. That doesn't mean you can't play Camille. Anyone can play Camille at this point in the game.
True.
So
exactly.
That might force one of Boise State's bans also away from their own bans and give the University of Utah advantage in this draft. But if we're getting into this one, looks like Boise State actually will be blue side once again. And it's starting out here with the One ban. Also, the clone, the brother, still on the table. We saw it picked up last game, but University of Utah, to see what they answer back with.
Interesting that Utah wanted to pick the red side there. I guess they were more relying on their counter picks. There's that Rumble ban that we predicted. I would assume Gangplank is going to follow, unless maybe they have a Gangplank counter and they want to bait Boise State in. It is going to be a very interesting decision here. But really, the red side is just shocking to me. I don't think we already saw Utah counter picking is not always the greatest. So shocking that they opted for it again, as Boise State will once again probably kicking the same bands. Lulu here. I would expect Yumi would be next.
And really, it's a bit of a head scratcher for me because I predicted some flex picks on their roster, but again, they just never ended up bringing anyone to the table. It just looked like a very straightforward team fighting composition from University of Utah. And I really was expecting some tricks or funky shenanigans in the draft. But in the end, looks like it will be the Gangplank over the Camille ban, but it's still that last option that they could have open.
There's that Yumi ban for Boise State, so they will change nothing but the order, and it's still the Lucian. But I now guess you do put Boise State in a scenario. They either have to pick the Lee Sin or the Camille.
Yeah.
One of those is going over to Utah. I would assume Boise State will want the Lee Sin. They will take it, and now we'll see if Utah is going to opt for that Camille, who is so incredibly strong.
Yeah, absolutely a strong option here for them to answer back on that top lane. And I know, like, you never want to blind pick first round your top laner, but when Camille is just this strong, it's one of the things you're willing to do, I think. I was like, University of Utah's not changing up the script just yet, though, so it'll be the Misfortune lock-in at round 1 of red side. She has a second pick, though, and I really do think the Camille should come through here, and if not, it's going straight to Boise State.
Yeah, I think Boise State has no problem blind picking their top lane here if Camille gets through. If Camille gets through 2 phases of not only bans, but 2 phases of picks, that would be highly, highly unlikely. Though Boise State did not, there's that, the Poppy again.
Yeah,
I did not like the Poppy, I'm going to be honest. I don't like this Utah strategy of let's just run it back, and now we don't have to deal with Gangplank. Though it might work because Gangplank was the only thing that kept Boise State in the game.
Yeah, so we'll have to see if Boise State can answer back with an equally strong top laner. Graves, not a bad choice. Phenomenal carry top or mid, depending on where you want to try and flex that pick too. But again, not exactly the same as a Gangplank. I think Gangplank absolutely has more carry potential, much better in the split push. Ziggs also locked in here, so maybe we're just going to see a it's not quite a salty run back, but almost a salty run back from University of Utah.
Boise State saying, hey, you know what? You want to run it back? We'll run it back as you said that. Okay, I was like, no, please don't do this again. And they pick up that Thresh. Again, with something that we talked about is that Utah had a great advantage with their flex picks with their jungle in the time. And maybe they flex Poppy top this later. Maybe that is the sneaky flex pick. But I would like to see them to get a bit more creative in that first phase of the draft and maybe throw Boise State off. Again, unless this is a Poppy top, and that's the whole reason why they locked in Poppy so early. And again, this time they banned the Leona, but it's because they have their support on board, so it makes a little bit more sense. Yeah,
absolutely here. I mean, I like the Thresh pickup with the Misfortune. Again, just having that Lantern for those immobile AD carries will always be super powerful. Echo Ban absolutely makes sense here for Boise State. So I think already we're seeing two changes up in the, or these two picks on these champions being the changes in the draft. It tells me that these comps might end up actually going in a different direction from here on out, but also with the last ban available, will be actually on the Bard, interestingly enough. So putting some respect on Park's name. I mean, he played the Bard phenomenally well. Did get picked off a few times with those tunnels, but in the end, it looks like University of Utah ended up being afraid of it, so they'll just dodge away from the Bard, and will enable Boise State to drop this Cassiopeia ban in rebuttal.
Fiora gonna get picked up, so it is a jungle Poppy here. Next mind, it is not Fiora. It is Syndra. That's an interesting pick. You kind of take it away from Boise State. I don't know if it was played phenomenally, but it is take it away from Boise State, who now banned out two mid laners of their own. But then again, that could easily just be mid-grave. So it's a unique strategy there for Utah to steal away that Syndra. I wonder if they're banking on it being in mid-graves or not with that Syndra pickup.
I would say that in general, Syndra's just one pretty safe blind pick here. They don't really know what's going to come at them in mid lane. Looks like they're trying to save this counter pick once again for top lane, but they already know that the Graves could be going up there. But they want to try and force Boise State to show their entire hand before they lock in that final pick and ensure that Boise State can't just play this game through top once again. Khan is the lock in here. I do like this a little bit better over the Bard. I feel like it has better roaming potential just with the quickness plus the quick engage there. I'll have to see what they can answer back with. As one more pick here for Boise State, and it will be that top laner. Or sorry, one of the solo laners. The final pick will decide, as it is the Corki, interestingly enough.
I believe that is a mid-Corki. Boise State has played quite a lot of mid-Corki, so that does mean that it is a top lane Grave. So now Utah could have counterpicked all along. We'll see what that choice is going to be for Rainey, who did not have a great game last time. What is he going to be here?
I mean, he's got a lot of options set. It's one of his most played, so yeah, I guess that just makes sense. But again, I think Graves is really good at bullying out basically anything that he has in his pool. So there wasn't really a lot of good options for him here. Set, we'll have to see what he can do in team fights. But Boise State's got a fairly squishy composition, so there's not really a super good target for him to try and drop that showstopper onto.
Yeah, I would assume the showstopper target is probably either your Graves or Ziggs if you can make it to them. And the set just has so much natural sustain in the lane. I don't think that Elo Dad is going to be able to bully him as much. I'm curious if Boise State will continue to put resources in top lane because, again, that was sort of a counter-pick matchup where Utah counter-picked themselves. It's impossible to say if the skill difference is enough where we could see a similar repeat without the Gangplank and the Gnar being present because I think, you know, Kodama on the Misfortune was very solid. Brown Sugar made some spectacular plays early on that Poppy. And I'm curious where they'll commit that Poppy now, if it'll be more towards the bot side, more towards just getting picks, because a lot of Poppy's picks were also enabled. I did want to say the Bard was great for really both teams. Unfortunately, the Bard enabled a lot for Boise State and also got them picked off a lot.
Yeah, just slight overextensions through those magical journeys you saw come out through the tunnel. Poppy's right there. Stuns you straight into the wall. Not a lot of ways to try and escape from that one. So if you ever overcommitted through one of those magical journeys, you're basically just going to get stunned up. So you have to be careful this game. I think I'm looking at this bottom lane, which was kind of the target of a lot of Poppy's ganks, and just wanting them to play a little bit safer. You're playing on the Ziggs. You have the option to just sit back and farm. Graves will be pushing in constantly topside. Your Lee Sin has to be up there to protect him. When you have the option to just sit back and farm out waves from such a long range, I think that's what Ziggs is supposed to do.
And I think Boise State's bot lane has to be very careful because Kodama got really, really far ahead because, well, they also had the Seraphine, who's a little bit more poke happy, but it almost like every time we looked down, Goblin was at 50% health and always had to be careful, was trying to clear waves, will get caught out by Kodama. So I think that Boise State bot lane, as you said, they probably have to play very, very carefully. You have a little bit more sustain with the Rakan. Of course, I know Bard has some help, but Bard's usually trying to roam around, pick up those meeps. So I would expect Utah to focus on that bot side because I think they can win through Kodama now that there's not a million barrels he has to be dodging while also trying to put out damage. And so I think it's going to be very interesting how this top lane matchup goes, because if Elodad doesn't have the AoE potential of the Cannon Barrage and of the barrels, he's got to get very far ahead on this Graves to have the single target damage to match what that Gangplank did, because Gangplank basically just told Boise State, hop in the backpack and I'll get you to the late game when everything's kind of evened out. Yeah,
it's one of the big plans here. I think absolutely, you mentioned the misfortune, played phenomenally well in the first game, and if they can just find that same success in the bottom lane and just bully out the Ziggs once again, they can just play through bot. And with all these team fighting tools on their side once again, this is still another straight up team fight composition for the side of University of Utah.
So get ready to go here. Game 2, Halloween Classic. Boise State coming off a loss to Illinois Wesleyan, sitting at 4-1, trying to move to 5-1 here as the round-robin portion of the tournament wraps up here and put themselves in a good position to maybe have a chance to hoist the Halloween Classic trophy whenever that could take place. And for Utah, I like their setup. I think a lot of it is going to be on if Brown Sugar can replicate what they did in Game 1, because they kind of got counter-jungled at times. They got invaded, but they were able to make some great plays on Boise State's mispositioning with that Poppy, but towards the end of the game, you realize Boise State's like, wait, we can't be next to a wall. They played it a lot better. I don't know if Brown Sugar will have that same early game success that propelled Utah to such a large lead in kills, because the one problem is Boise State's lanes felt all stronger. That gold lead really never got above 3K, even though at times Utah was out killing Boise State 3-1 because Boise State was just farming so much better than their lane counterparts that no matter what Poppy could do, couldn't get the team ahead.
I still want to give a shout out to the entire team of Boise State for noticing that the win condition was just going to be in that Gangplank. They didn't need to fight that third dragon. They were happy to just wait it out, farm up just a little bit more, and wait for the right fight. It took a lot of patience. I'm sure giving up soul point never feels good, but they were able to eventually fight it all the way back, and they played that 4 versus 4 where Bard got picked off also phenomenally well. Just really good patience. You mentioned you want to see some more restraint from Boise State. They showed a little bit here in this game. Still some overextensions, of course, but this is just part of the game, part of the learning process. We're actually get some replays here. This is one of the picks onto the Yasuo, so just one of those phenomenal plays where they were able to just clean up the map.
Yeah, that Boise State, after the early game, at one point it was 12-4 in kills, and Boise State had done a lot of over-aggressing. They had died at Rift Herald, over-committing, trying to save the Lee Sin. I thought they made some phenomenal plays. This one, maybe my only big criticism is they ping the Baron because they have 2 down, or 4 down, then they rotate over to Dragon, which is spawning in a minute, then they rotate up to top. And after this play, where I kind of thought Boise State felt lost, it feels like everything came together. They said, look, let's just prioritize the Dragon. We know we can't give up Soul. But this was maybe the one part where Boise State figured everything out and said, look, our priority is not giving up Soul. We don't need Baron to win because we have a Gangplank who can absolutely destroy towers, because we have a Ziggs. And I thought they played it so phenomenally.
Also love that pick right there at the very end. Having just the confidence to go in underneath that tower. And really, because that dragon, like you mentioned, was spawning just in a little bit more time, there was a chance the University of Utah makes it down and contests this Soul. But picking up the misfortune just made it impossible for them to try and do something like that.
Yeah, not over-aggressing at the Baron. Phenomenal play there. The only thing that I'm a little worried about for Boise State, because we joked about it being kind of a salty run back, is they won't have the Bard to save their tower from the Rift Herald. So the first Rift Herald becomes a lot more important because Utah will get a lot more value out of it. You can't just use the Bard all to cancel their charge. So I think that first Rift Herald fight where Boise State kind of got caught out is going to become a lot more noticeable if it gets stolen away by Utah. So I think that first Rift Herald fight is going to be a lot more important than any first Dragon, because again, we saw for Boise State, they were fine going to Soul Point. It's never great, but they had a great game plan. I think first Rift Herald's a lot more important because you don't have hey, Bard's the easy counter Rift Herald. We don't have to worry about that charge anymore. Those plates are going to be on the table.
Yeah, that's just like a general rule of thumb that the Rift Herald's more important for the team that's playing through their solo laners. So having the Graves up here in top lane tells me that Boise State's just trying to do what they did with the Gangplank, just on a different champion. So they need to get this Rift Herald early. It's actually on University of Utah to secure early dragons through bot lane dominance with Misfortune Thresh. There's no reason you should lose this lane. They have to come out on top. And Poppy, yes, she can help them out, but she also just needs to be careful that she's not allowing Boise State to get this Rift Herald just for free.
Yeah, if you're Utah, as you said, you've got to get early dragons, because you can't get to a point where we saw last game, dragon was up for so long that you could do the traditional, you get dragon, we get Rift Herald basically at the same time, you get those notifications. Utah's got to win early on bot side, as you mentioned, allow that dragon, which spawns about 2 minutes earlier than Rift Herald, to be taken and allow you to contest, because I think Boise State is totally fine saying, yeah, get 3 dragons. We don't really care as long as Elodad gets ahead on this Graves, we'll be fine, because there's not a lot of ways to deny Graves from just ripping apart your team outside of landing a huge showstopper and then maybe landing the death sentence and being able to just perma-CC him. Doesn't have the oranges like Gangplank does, but Graves still has an opportunity to just rip apart the enemy team.
The one good thing is if Poppy can get behind him, she can kind of pull off that small little insect maneuver of her own and also deny the dash out of the fight from the Graves. So they have a lot of tools to shut down the Graves. Syndra Misfortune also helping out a lot with that, being able to drop the slow, following it up into just a massive amount of chunk damage at range, where Graves, can't exactly touch those two characters until he gets super, super close. And even then, he's got to fight through the set and the Poppy just to get there.
Yeah, it's going to be up to that front line, as you mentioned. Set and Poppy have got to keep Kodama alive, and we're focusing all of our attention on Elo Dad. Don't forget, a sense on that Corki. You can use the package. You immediately split the team up, and you can be on the back line, and maybe that's where Boise State goes for the sandwich play, where they have Corki on one side, you got Graves on the other, and the question is, who do you see as we hop into game number 2? Boise State up here on match point in the Halloween Classic, looking to move to 5-1. Everything pretty standard across the board, it appears. Doesn't look like we'll get any spicy invades either, as it looks like Poppy once again going to start on the top side of their map, while Lee Sin will start on the bottom.
My eyes are immediately drawn to Ascent Summoners this game, taking Heal Exhaust against the Syndra. Also a swap up here for Goblin, taking Teleport over the Exhaust on his on the bottom lane. So be able to just farm up constantly here in the bottom lane, deny as many waves as possible to Kodama. And then also just full defensive summoners on this middle lane. He does not want to die to Syndra.
I think also Utah pulling in 3 subs here in the top, mid, and support. Joshua Belt, Sentrial, and Achilles Healy's. So that's going to be something interesting as well that, you and I not able to know factoring in, because we don't know how these players are going to handle it. I would doubt someone just brings in their Smurf unless maybe they don't own that champion. So it's impossible to know if those are subs or not, but I would be led to believe they are they are subs who are coming in to maybe give Utah a new look.
Yeah, the University of Utah has a really wide roster, and they do specialize in a few different areas. So I'm not surprised to see this. They can do the draft in that draft pool and then do the actual draft where they drop in their subs. So able to swap in Joshua Bell here on the set. Extremely powerful, one of his most played. I'm not sure about the Thresh player. He's not one I recognize. But either way, I like the change up here. It looks like they played out that first game. They're like, we can do better than this. They swap up their draft just a little bit, and they make the adjustments in the roster as well.
I believe production did let us know that all 3 players are subs. So it will be a different look for the side of Utah. And that would explain the set pick, as you mentioned, something we noticed in Joshua Bell. And I'm very curious, because it always can be difficult, especially for Ascent in that mid lane, of not knowing how your mid laner wants to play. As here comes Brown Sugar looking for an early gank. Boise State has no idea.
Now they're already on in this one. Poppy going to get forced out from the satchel charge. Goblin with a good usage of that cooldown. Actually baits the flash as well. You are not making it to Rakan. I'm sorry. Ascent in a little bit of trouble here in the middle lane. Just gets chunked out by Syndra. She might be looking at the solo kill. No Ignite to speak of, so he should be fine through Heal Exhaust. But either way, it's a big chunk of damage here onto the Corki.
Corki does have this spell book, so I would expect those summoners to be used early and often. I'll sort of explain the interesting choices there at the start, but of course Corki with that Valkyrie, with that package, has a lot of mobility. Flash not always needed, as we see this Utah bot lane, as you mentioned, gets a great death sentence.
That's a good way to start it off. It doesn't really look like to engage just yet. Power shots potentially moving towards this Thresh. That's a lot of damage over committal here into the bottom lane. They try and pick off the Ziggs, but Goblin plays it immaculately. Comboing there with Park so damn fun that they're able to pick up the Thresh early here. Solo, I guess not exactly solo, 2v2 kill the bottom lane. We got more action here in mid, as Central forced out. Lee Poppy joining the fight. Gotta watch out for the overcommittal here. Is level 4 versus level 3. No stun landing. He's just hard committing to walking at the Syndra. Flash for flash. Jungle on mid. You will take those. Brown Sugar gonna take a little bit of damage here on the way out, but otherwise, decent disengaging. Forces a summoner for summoner. And it's a good trade for Boise State.
Boise State. They did have to use both. Uh-oh.
No way.
Oh. I don't think he knew. Of course, we did. I don't think he had vision on the Syndra. But that would have been a crazy play. Syndra's going to teleport back, so Mortar's got to be careful. This is a risky spot.
Yeah, dashing in against the Poppy, using your mobility is a little bit risky. Do have the Rakan rotated up to try and help on out here. We'll stun up the Poppy. I have the damage here to burst her out. This is so aggressive from Boise State, but this is a new look, and I love it. Mendler able to stay shielded up here with the Rakan, just kiting back and forth, breaking the ankles here. The heal does come through. He takes a tower shot, and he will fall. Blue buff given over. It was almost an incredible play here, just completely breaking the ankles of that Syndra, but he will go down.
And that's the part where, I lean back to what we said at the start. I would like to see, you get the great kill onto the Poppy, there's no reason to stay there, right? You got the 1 kill. If you get the second one, I think Utah probably surrenders on the spot, but now you get that center blue buff. She has Tear of the Goddess as well. Did get forced to back, and so Ascent should be able to maybe pick up a plate or at least get some farm advantage, but Boise State sometimes just a tad too flashy.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of questionable if he would have been able to escape. Syndra not having flash, him not having flash, and just like if he landed one more skill shot, he was pretty much dead, guaranteed. But once he got the shield from Rakan, I think he could have just walked out like you were saying. Small opportunity there for improvement. Really hard to recognize the opportunity. Obviously, for us, it's a lot easier, but here we have Elodad in a little bit of trouble here against the set. Was winning the lane, but Poppy's here to disrupt things. Gonna kite through the smoke screen, but it's not gonna keep him alive for too much longer. He'll fall. Joshua Bell gets the kill up there in the top lane. Happy to cash in against the range top and just harassing him all game.
That's a great job by that Poppy. Brown Sugar hanging around. Mortar wants revenge on the Central, though.
Oh, good dodge on the scat of the week. That's the Mortar picking up another kill. And a Lee Sin for Boise State being effective here as they want to try and actually look for aggressively for a kill on a Misfortune. Good look as they almost have to pick something up, but now the teleport is healing through. No satchel charge to try and make the escape happen. Rakan should be on the way out of this one. Attempted flash from the Ziggs, but the field comes out just a little bit too late. Trying to bait in the set a little bit further. They want to try and get this aggro, but Park, unable to find the cooldowns in time, will not stun anyone into the tower this time.
Good job denying the showstopper at least. But again, that set just running you down. But Graves is going to get a bunch. It should get easily a plate up here. Already up 10 CS. I know the set does have a double kill, and Senshell's going to face it one more time.
It's happening again. Level 6 from Lee Sin. Has to get into this fight, though. Still has Dragon Mage for the execute, but he doesn't need it. The rest of the team is here. Good roam coming in from Park to find a kill on the mid lane once again.
Yeah, great job on Park with that flash, extending that knock-up range. Dragon is up. Curious if Boise State will want to go for it. Smite is online and available, but it looks like instead Mortar will just simply back and get a reset here. Again, that priority is probably going to be on Rift Herald, but maybe you trade this Rift Herald for first Dragon, because Boise State, obviously, we saw earlier, does not need to prioritize these early Dragons. It's the late ones that matter.
Yeah, I mean, they could just pick it up just to stop if you talk about being able to snowball any kind of soul. You have the option, obviously, go for it. But like you said, Rift Herald, massively important for Boise State this game. Having the ability to combo Rift Herald with Ziggs too on one of these towers early could be massive. So if they can rotate the Ziggs to the right position at the right time, they're just picking up an early tower, and University of Utah really can't do anything about it.
Both junglers just instead going to go for their red buffs, both completing their jungle items. They will have the more powerful Smite online for any sort of objective fight that does happen to come their way, as Goblin taking some harass. Park looking for another kill. They have wanted to target down Central, but a great scout of the week stops that engage.
And honestly, at this point, that's a level 4 Rakan trying to gank a level 6 Syndra. You have to be so careful. Even if he makes it into that fight, there's a chance if they go even a step under tower, Rakan just gets blown up by the burst that Syndra brings to a fight.
And here the ping's coming out. They want to make a play bot lane. It does sound like Mortar has jumped onto that Dragon. Brown Sugar's coming down, but I don't think there's any way they make it there in time. Boise State will win the first objective, and we'll see if they immediately want to transition over to that Rift Herald as the Dragon goes down.
It's worth a shot, but there it is. Boise State taking the first neutral objective of the game. Already a much cleaner look to this game than the previous, as despite a kill lead last game for University of Utah, they were managing to be even in gold, but here it is. A kill lead and a gold lead for Boise State. But it's Lee Sin, and a little bit over-ambitious on the jungle. On the counter-jungling here, we'll get hooked on in. Death Sentence in. So much crowd control. Shut down gold over Misfortune on top of it all with the red buff. Mordor, he takes and he gives, and this time he gives the red buff over to the wrong character on University of Utah. To fight, will just be the disengage.
First use the package there for the Corki on the disengage. And Boise State getting a little bit too aggro there. Now Park's got to be careful.
Oh, this might be just an instant deletion, and there it is. Level 6. I do believe Rakan managed to hit level 5, but either way, too much crowd control. Rakan's fairly squishy here in the early game. Ziggs trying to find a way out of this fight. Poppy on the Predator. Wolf's get flashed on, played on, and an insect push and shove there from the Poppy. Maybe a little unnecessary with Thresh play already landing, but either way, they managed to kill the Ziggs off, and it will be more CS and a higher advantage going over to Misfortune this game.
Mortar's in a good spot. The MF is Brown Sugar is low, so is Achilles Heelys. Looks like the backs will go off. I thought maybe Mortar could go in for the triple kill. He's spam pinging Poppy, though. He should be able to pick this one up.
Oh, trying to get onto this one. denies the Q to onto the Scuttle Crab in the river, but he will still pick that one up, forcing Poppy out once again. Brown Sugar always getting forced off of camps and plays usually by Lee Sin, but if she's got backup, she's gonna be trouble. Good damage landing so far here on the Corki. Ascent's actually looking fairly aggressively here. Might be able to bomb out the Syndra, but she's able to escape, and now he's in a little bit of trouble. No Valkyrie available there in the middle lane. It's a gank in the top lane too. Zed's trying to go on into this one. Corki's, I believe, just dead here. No way out. Lisa and Mordor trying to make it into the fight in time, but 3-man strong roam to the mid lane. Boise State slowly bleeding kills and barely holding on to this gold lead.
Death Sentence barely missing. As you said, the gold lead now basically evaporated for Boise State, under 100. No one's really gone after this Rift Herald. CS a lot closer, except you look in the mid lane where Ascent is up over 30. But does get taken out there, so those 2 kills on Syndra and the assist starting to help even things out there. And just really have not seen a lot of agency to putting Elodad ahead, almost relying on his solo play as the level 5 Rakan. Probably been roaming a bit too much there, already 2 levels down on basically everybody else in the game.
Yeah, he does still have, and he has created this advantage successfully for Ascent in the mid lane on the Corki. But at this point in the game, you need this Corki to start roaming with those packages. Elodad in a lot of trouble here. Does a great job on the escape, flashing and dashing and ulting his way out of that fight, turning as much damage as possible onto the jungle and top here for University of Utah. But yeah, I mean, you have to utilize the advantage of the laner that you're putting all these resources into. Last game, it was Elodad. This game, it's Ascent. But I'm just not seeing the same amount of pressure come out just yet. It is only minute 11. There is still opportunity, but I just haven't seen it happen.
And very similar to the Gangplank, though, is here we go, Rakan.
Running on again. This time, Pilot's have the level 6. Almost enough damage to just take out the Syndra entirely, but she'll barely escape, bleeding on that Ignite. Flash for 2 flashes and an Ignite. Syndra able to survive. Well played here by Central in the mid lane.
Achilles Healy's once Goblin. He knocks him into tower range.
That's the right way to do it, but a good flash forward here from this Force. Bullet time not going to connect on the Goblin. Goblin actually outplaying the 1v2 there, able to keep himself alive. And this is what you want on the Ziggs. Just keep yourself alive. Stay safe as long as possible. But man, that's a lot of damage from Syndra. Will force out Ascent here in mid.
Using that ult. Didn't quite get the elimination. Rakan now on a ward. Got to be careful. Has at least hit level 6. Death Sentence. Oh, almost. I mean, the one good news for Boise State is they put all these resources on the Corki. It is one of those 2 or 3 item champion power specs. Has got to finish the Miramana. Has got to get that S Retriever online as well. So Boise State just trying to enable Ascent to hit that late game faster. Here comes Poppy, though.
Once again, Poppy into the bottom lane. Goblin sent up into tower. Poppy gonna pick him up. Syndra roaming out just barely not in time here. Central could not pick up that kill, but either way, Brown Sugar once again finds some really good gank timing here onto the bottom lane, picking up Goblin once again.
Boise State's gold lead barely hanging on, thanks in part to 4 turret plates in the mid lane and 4 turret plates in the top lane. So I would think we're going to see Utah pick up a couple more. And Elodad once again flirting with this first tower, just absolutely harassing Joshua Bell. And there's no assistance in sight this time.
Yeah, I mean, both these mid and top lane towers are so incredibly liquid for these teams. Doesn't engage in the bottom lane, though. Almost picking up Goblin. He's managed to go golden, but it won't save him. And the Lantern out should be good for Misfortune here to survive. So Sucker back towards the tower here. It's an attempt to dive into Joshua Bell in the top lane. He's also able to escape. What is happening all over the map? Action everywhere. Corki just packaging forward here on the Central. Might be able to escape this time. This entire team is rotating out the reinforcements. He'll go down, though. And now Poppy's extremely low on the Dragon, but Boise State does spot it out. Now getting slowed up here. Ocean Dragon is so rough to try and run away from. He'll chase forward here on the Poppy. Will just be more damage onto this top lane tower. And more importantly, just denying these back timings. University of Utah unable to make it back into their base, and just threatening, ominously standing there over this tower, emoting on these back timers. He's going to threaten once again, force up the hook. Thresh unable to make it back into his base just yet. Will be more denial here, and it allows Mordor to not only get Dragon, but secure some jungle camps and vision.
Like last game, it's Boise State who gets both. They also picked up the Rift Herald and used it to get 2 towers in the top lane for Elodad. So not only did he get first tower, he also got second tower. Mortar might take this play on to MF, who steals the Grom.
Not going to get this camp this time. And now they might get punished for it once again. Able to get over the wall with the hook. Denies the ability for Lee Sin to do the same. Thresh making it out alive. And again, overextending here for these jungle camps, just not respecting the death timers and the speed at which this Poppy moves.
Once again, an Immortal Shield Bow in the top lane, finished for Elodad. Gore Drinker countered there by Joshua Bell, who's doing a lot better job staying pace. You see the CS difference only about 20 despite all the support. Elodad's getting those tower plate golds, and sure has Elodad in front by quite a bit.
Woo!
That is so, he is just clearing waves left and right.
You know, he did on Gangplank last game, but it's just satisfying to watch all the gold just ching, 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 right into the inventory. Elodad eating that right up, and despite a lot of jungle pressure top lane here from Poppy, has managed to keep himself to that one death early game, and now playing so safe, just making sure Flash almost back up too. I can't imagine he'll be going down anytime soon.
Ooh, Thresh one's in on Goblin.
It's gonna happen again. Goblin able to escape this time. No Summoner's Burn, but look at those on my way pings. Everyone wants some action here in the bottom lane. Not gonna happen just yet though. It looks like Poppy has been just brought this out. Brown Sugar denying the ability for Rakan to just come down here and make a mess of his bottom lane.
I do think the one thing that's better for Utah this game is last game a ton of those kills were on Brown Sugar on that Poppy, who can only do so much. The Ascent survives. This time it's the misfortune. It's Kodama, who's 5-0-2. As they're going to look for a death sentence onto the Ziggs, able to get away. We got another fight in the river.
Gotta say, good play here on the engagement here. Bottom lane burned a lot of resources. Teleport's coming through. Elodad has it right first to the fight, but he might be first to die. His Fortune dropping the ultimate. Everyone just dropping so low for Boise State. Goblin on the wrong side of this fight. Going to get chased down here by Brown Bear. Joshua Bell does get tagged up, but is able to escape fairly easily. Brown Sugar still wants to try and chase forward into Boise State jungle. But again, not much else to claim here. They got their kill, they got their pick. But Boise State has already secured the dragon.
Get the damage. Goblin say he is not long for this world.
Man, this is looking kind of like how Random was looking last game. Goblin, they're trying to make the outplay happen here, but just another flash burn. Brown Sugar is so willing to burn his flash for a pick.
And it works off the Ziggs 0-5-1, nearly 50 CS difference for Kodama. Now Ascent, the exhaust.
Brought the cleanse this time through the spell book. Gonna force out the flash from Central, and that's big value.
I like the early game heal, exhaust, Corki with spellbook. I feel like late game though, not having that flash is going to be something that I don't know if Ascent's going to enjoy. Joshua Bell's going to take a fight.
That's a fully stacked crit. Gonna get all the damage off on that showstopper. And now Elodad might actually be in trouble here, trying to kite away using the smoke screen, but he's just dead. Joshua Bell pulls him in and knocks him down with the tower.
Joshua Bell just stayed top for so long after that fight, and he's actually a higher level than Elodad, despite Elodad getting those first two turrets. And now Boise State really doesn't have a great place to take a fight. I think this Thresh pick for Achilles Healy's has been phenomenal in giving Utah's bot lane more agency. You can see MF, 8,100 gold, highest in the game, 600 gold ahead of anybody else, and nearly 4,000 gold ahead of their lane opponent there in Goblin.
Sugar Bear. I'm sorry, I don't know why I think the word Bear into there. It's just Brown Sugar. Chases forward here to Lee Sin. They proc the Predator that time. Gonna move on the way pings back towards their own jungle. So it looks like they're just gonna try and farm up here, hit a few more spikes, and then just mop Boise State in a 5 versus 5 fight as they have the composition for it. And the third objective, it's gonna be Infernal Soul this game coming up here for Utah.
Boise State will have the package for it. That Corki should be able to potentially jump on the back line, take out Kodama, but there is so much damage across the board this set at 3-0-0. We'll see if Boise State can find a pick. I don't think they're going to be able to, though. And that's going to make this dragon a lot more spicy. Everybody's going to be here. There's a lack of flashes up on the side of Utah.
That's a great stun to start off the fight. Immediately deleting the Corki means no package available either. Boise State has no options left. They're just on full retreat. Brown Sugar chasing all the way back to make sure he can find a stun on the Ziggs. They get 2 for 0. The dragon's now up. And this ping's going everywhere, but I think they're just going to pick up the dragon, get a push in mid, and then be happy with those 2 objectives taken.
Dragon will go over most likely for free. I don't think there's a reason for Mortar to attempt to steal with how far behind Boise State already is. It's not sole point. I don't think it's too concerning there. It's only the first Infernal of the game. Does go over to Kodama with a little bit of a smite miss there for Brown Sugar as Mortar goes in on Joshua Bell. I don't think this is a fight you win, Mortar.
This is really dangerous, actually. You saw Joshua Bell's willingness to just tank up underneath the towers because he's just stacking grit the entire way. tanks up the Lee Sin, and is able to just walk out. No Lantern needed. He's just a threat on his own.
Baron spawning now in 7 seconds. Utah, with that 6-0 misfortune, should potentially be able to burn it down should they win another team fight. So you see everybody for Boise State kind of wrapping around. Boise State tied with Utah in terms of turrets, but 2 of those 3 turrets are in the top lane. And it's going to be very hard to try and get a top inhibitor this early on because Elodad does not have that gangplank. Heal does not have the CC break, and more importantly, is not as far ahead as he was on the gangplank as well.
Yeah, I really feel like a lot of the eggs this game are actually on the Corki, so Ascent needs to step up here, really be the DPS carry. Unfortunately getting blown up by a well-placed stun from Brown Sugar, followed up with that bullet time. There's just no way out through all the burst that was coming his way, even with the heal exhaust.
Has finished the Mirror Mountain, has finished the Essence Reaver, has started to hit the part of the game where Corki can be a bit scary to deal with, but as you mentioned, if you get CC down, there's nothing you could do. Especially with that heal and exhaust, you have to be very careful of your Valkyrie usage and be very careful of your package usage. As both teams will just kind of clear wards out, and we'll start to dance around Baron here for a few minutes.
Backs that in, but just clearing out some vision on his own. And Heelys also wanting to just deny as much vision around the Baron as possible, as I really do feel like Utah feels confident in their team fight. They just want to try and force a 4v5, the 5v5. All they need to do it is just clear out the vision, get the shove in mid, and bait Boise State in towards this Baron. Heelys will in the death sentence, but is not willing to take that one on in. Keep an eye on Joshua Bell here in the bottom lane, just clearing out jungle camp. So there isn't much that Elodad can do here against the set. We already saw what happened even underneath the tower. We'll try and chase him down, get some chip damage, and allow him to try and fight it out in this split push battle here in the bottom lane.
All these, if Boise State has to commit resources towards this set that it looks like they're doing, I'd love to see a Baron call here from Utah. Boise State has Mortar hanging down. Joshua Bell's just going to back. Boise State really has no agency towards this Baron, but unfortunately Reset's coming out here. Now they want to fight.
Okay, Goblin. Didn't really need a juke there. Achilles Heelys, I think, just going wide on the play, but that time he pulls it off. Oh man, it's a full yellow star utilization of the combo. Everything just goes a little bit wide here. Flash burned as well for the Thresh.
See the question mark pings for Boise State. Scared of a potential blue side jungle bush. Only Brown Sugar who is there though, but as this goes further on, this misfortune just getting further and further ahead. This Poppy has landed so many great stuns. Boise State just has to find a pick, but I don't know where they're going to find it. And Elodad's about to get a surprise as Centrail's heading down to deny that tower push.
Yeah, I mean, it should, in theory, just shove out this wave and back, as they don't really have vision on many members of University of Utah right now. He's going to do just that. Happy to get it to tower. Happy to get a little bit of damage and at least force one member away from this middle lane. At least a little bit more time. Baron, of course, still on the table here. Or University of Utah can rotate over at any point. But again, they just want to try and farm this one out. And honestly, despite the kill differential here, they're not only a long ways from Seoul, but also a long ways away from a dominant goalie that'll just let them run over Boise State. They have to play careful.
Yeah, Boise State CSing has kept them in this game. Elodad's been consistently ahead. You see the mid lane difference, so that is basically neutralized by the difference in the bot lane in terms of CS. The kills have that misfortune incredibly far ahead, and it's the misfortune that Boise State needs to find a pick on. Has the exhaust, has the flash, so you're probably going to have a Dragon Rage here from Mortar to make a play. As Park, I don't know what you're doing. You have Elodad here, I guess.
And might be able to make the play happen. Good utilization of the phase rush to just run away from that one. Also come with that pick. Ooh, perfect timing there on the knockback from Goblin, but he might still be in trouble. Get knocked up here. Still Thresh looking for the death sentence. Not going to come through though. Still trying to pull the Syndra. Scout of the week will land though. Finally, after such a long chase, pick up Goblin here in the mid lane. And there's a huge wave they got to face down on top of it all. You see Pinks going towards the Dragon. No major objectives will be taken, but Utah willing to play it slow here in order to ensure a victory.
Keeping it to a side, unless Boise State wants to take this Dragon fight. They're looking for a death sentence.
And they will find it. There's a Corki back from the back line, but can Ascent do enough damage with a shutdown? One. They're just standing on top of the package, but even through all of that, they cannot find the damage. Rakan coming in here to find a shutdown on the Poppy. They'll kill off the enemy jungle. Mordor still alive here, but he does not want to try and get in the middle of the set and misfortune. The key members alive here for University of Utah.
The package got expended, as you mentioned. Utah just stood on top, but unfortunately, Ascent only gunned down the Syndra, did not land any damage onto that 8-0-7 Misfortune. But killing the jungler was at least enough for Boise State to stop Utah from taking that dragon and at least force a reset where we should get potentially one more fight around it.
Yeah, it really feels like a lot of respect is being given over to Mordor's Lee Sin. I mean, he's the one guy who could have stolen it away. The only reason they really would have gone for this back, because I mean, who else is a threat? Mordor, though, just burns Safeguard and has no way over this wall. Oh, it's already back up. Okay, I respect it.
Dragon will help out Boise State a little bit there. Utah has already regrouped on the Dragon. Boise State looks like they're just content to give it up as Ascent's going to go towards the mid lane. Elodad just farming. For all of that work, Boise State's just going to hand Utah their second Dragon anyway.
Looks like they want to try and get some poke image off on him. Maybe not expecting all 5 members of Utah to just pass straight to Dragon off of spawn. But in the end, University of Utah is able to secure their second Drake of the game. Looking to stack an Infernal Soul up fairly early here in the game. Again, it will be at least 35 minutes before they're able to secure that for themselves. And they got a Baron, multiple towers, and a few fights before they can get there.
Park able to dash over the wall. Baron clearly the next objective on Utah's mind, and so is Goblin's life as Achilles Heelys is here.
Trying to find a way to juke out that sentence, but unfortunately a little too far away from that wall to make it on over. And this time, Achilles Heelys will win that play combo, will stop the Ziggs from getting away, and they'll pick up another pick onto the bottom lane here for Boise State. And now the Baron on the table here, but I don't see him rotating over just with the split push from Elodad. Teleport available, so they can contest this 4 versus 5 if they so choose.
Yeah, no agency on the Baron. Probably want one more pick onto Mordor before they feel comfortable. You can see them pinging the mid lane for Boise State, where 3 of their members are. Ascent now has that Immortal Shield Bowl as well. This Corki getting closer and closer to what we saw last game at that Gangplank. I just don't know, without the snap damage that the Gangplank barrels had on the Misfortune, if the Corki will have the same impact that Boise State needs. Because this is almost a very similar situation to Game 1, Soulpan. Boise State behind. They're farming well enough to keep themselves in the game. They have one character who really has to pop off. Last time it was Gangplank. This time it's the Corki. But I don't know if Corki's going to have the burst to eliminate Misfortune as fast as Boise State's going to need in some of these fights.
We'll say one buy I like to see here is the Zhonya's Hourglass from Rakan. I used to consider it a troll build. I used to just like how Rakan's animations looked once he went into Zhonya's. Just called it the Golden Boy maneuver. It just looked cool. But it's actually really good here in this context. I mean, being able to dash in, stop the Misfortune bullet time, and then go golden once you hit the knockup plus the charm. You'll hold her in place long enough for your team to hopefully clean her up through damage, but then also come back alive to get at least 1 or 2 knockoffs and maybe another heal off in this team fight.
Boise State would like a pick. I think we know where Utah wants their pick. They have bullied Goblin this game on the Ziggs, and Thresh almost got in range for another one.
Leave him alone. He's had enough.
What did that poor Yordle do to you, Thresh? Uh-oh.
Oh, Joshua Bell is actually potentially in danger here. Gonna get smoke screen out. It's just a Rakan, so the damage won't necessarily be there, but it's a lot of CC coming through. Graves might have to burst for it. Goes golden early here, gonna have to be forced into Zhonya's, and finally they'll find the kill, but unfortunately Shutdown Gold goes over to Rakan. Immediate rebuttal here for University of Utah. They see 2 bottom, they go straight to the Baron. Graves is teleporting into this one. They're gonna try and make the collapse happen, but once again, Achilles Heelys Yellow stars it up a second time. Leeson trying to go in and find the kill. Will find the smite on a Scuttle Crab. Down Sugar gets flashed on. The Jumpers are just outplaying each other. He even steals the crowd. Mordor makes him look silly. It's going to be finally sent into the back end of the fight. 1,000 gold shutdown onto the Corki. Baron's on the table. They got everyone here for it. And Boise State turns on the switch to make the comeback happen.
Trail going to be forced to back. Doesn't have a ward to teleport to, so they're going to teleport to the mid lane. They are going to look to contest this. Boise State should be able to finish it off. What can this Syndra do? Has to be able to land a huge scatter of the week. I don't think they're going to get there in time.
Second teleport's here. They managed to pick up the Baron, but now they're going to have to try and kite out and away. And do whatever they can. That shield though proc was massive. Joshua Bell goes down once again. There's going to be 2 more picks for Boise State here. Central getting flashed on by the Ziggs. Goblin has had enough of your bullying. He finally gets a shutdown. And there it is. Boise State gets the ace. over University of Utah.
It's a fantastic play there. I don't think Utah needed to try and challenge that Baron, especially without a smite. And now the question becomes, what does Boise State want to do with it? We immediately see Goblin's going to teleport towards that bot side. That Ziggs with Baron is going to be a tower-pushing menace. What can Boise State do with this Baron is going to be a huge question. If not, they can continue to get back in this game. Look at this. Down 8 kills, but still a 4K goal lead to the Broncos.
The one criticism I'll give is, I guess it kind of, never mind, it makes sense. Teleporting down to this bottom lane, you want to do it just so you can get shoved on bot side. With this dragon spawning so soon, you want to have everyone focusing down here. Normally, if they had a little bit more time, I would have liked to see them go towards that top lane, try and get that top lane inhibitor so that the University of Utah would just struggle to send 5 members down to this bottom lane. Either way, here's an engage already. Corki on the bomb. Everything comes through. Massive burst for Boise State. They pick off the support. Poppy's chunked out, and they're going to go straight to this dragon.
Should put them on soul point. We'll see if this time Utah wants to challenge, and I don't think they will. Finally, Boise State says it helps out Goblin, who was bullied all night long by Achilles Heelys. And now we'll get, looks like, potentially a 4-1 push here for Boise State as they try and make the most use of this Baron buff on their minions.
Shoving straight through mid here. Goblin going to chunk and shred through these towers. Joshua Bell try and find some kind of rebuttal. But expect this tower to just drop instantly. A few procs, a few autos, and an instant satchel charge. This thing's going down. Stopped immediately. Lee Sin kicked out of the fight, but it's a little bit too late to save your tower. Corki's already halfway back towards the team. University of Utah on the back foot now at this point. No longer have the soul point on the table. Boise State, who's threatening all across the map.
Should be able to pick up this bot here too. You see the pings going out onto the Corki. Who will use that Baron empowered recall.
Oh, it's not gonna be enough. This should be a set going down. See if he can make some kind of turnaround play happen here. Good juke away from Kodama. Able to use this, or keep the spell shield up the entire time. So actually just no spells landing there from the Corki. No chance of taking out that Misfortune.
Still 3 members of Boise State who have that Baron buff. Probably should at least be able to get 1 inhibitor turret. But the Corki being down for 38 seconds is going to make that push a bit harder. They might just unfortunately have to let the rest of this Baron tick down into nothingness.
Towards the top lane here, Joshua. Remember, every wave you manage to push out up here is 30 seconds off this Baron timer. So it becomes extremely valuable. If you can find a full wave to yourself, push it out as quickly as possible. It just means that Boise State will struggle to siege into you just that much more. Things like what they need right now in the game, but honestly, they managed to shove out most of these waves. Looks like at this point in the game, they're just afraid to push out past the half point between the middle of the map and their base.
Okay, with the Corki now online, Elo Dad catching up, has that Collector as well as the Bloodthirster. This is a very scary 1-2 punch for Boise State. Both of them level 17, ahead of everybody in the game. Probably going to be the first ones to 18 by a wide margin. And it seems like everyone, just like we saw in game 1, Sulpan is just content to wait for major objectives. Boise State just going to let that Baron fall off, not make too much use of it. They're just instead going to say, you know, we know Soul Point is for us, or Soul is going to be up here in about 2 or 3 minutes. We'll just take that fight. We don't need to take any fight before them.
Zombie Wards helping out Boise State here as they just take so much vision across this top side. Much more that University of Utah now has to clear on out just to be able to walk through their own jungle towards this Baron. So many advantages now in the camp of Boise State. The question is, can they utilize them properly? Mordor, Goblin, just the mid lane duo here, making sure there's no shove available for University of Utah to even wipe through the Baron pit and try and get some vision down.
Dragon still within reach for both teams as Boise State and Utah here in the Halloween Classic. It's game 2 of a best-of-3 with Boise State on match point. Neither team really too risk-heavy right now. They're just simply farming it up, preparing, warding around that Dragon because Boise State knows that Poppy can easily win a fight with this Predator. And I think Utah knows one more lost fight, especially if the Corki and the Graves live, and that mid inhibitor is going down, and depending on where the wave is, they could lose the game off one fight as well.
That's part of the reason why Boise State wants to shove this in so hard. It just puts the pressure on Utah to 100% you have to win this next fight for them. Dragon's not going to force it out just yet. It is just both teams dancing around, trying to get as much farm as possible. But honestly, I would say even this favors Boise State. You still have the Corki, not quite level 18, but such a level-driven champ is extremely happy to just sit it out, farm it out, and wait until he finally hits that final level spike.
Will be Baron coming online as well here soon. Could potentially see a fight over the Baron instead of the Dragon, or potentially Boise State just simply trading the Baron for the Dragon. Is Brown Sugar looking to make a play? This Lee Sin does have a Guardian Angel, so I would expect Mortar to get a bit more aggressive here. Predator is going to be popped.
A lot of damage brought out on that Poppy, as somebody you want to see on your jungler. Look at Rakan though, as Light Pole's just sitting in the wings, just waiting for this fight to start up around this Dragon. He wants to find a crazy flank angle, but the question is, he's pretty far removed right now. A great scout of the week to open up the fight. That's a Ziggs instantly dead. He wanted to try to find the flank angle, but he's not here to protect his team. Graves will shortly fall for sure. Elo Dad trying to do his best to kite out, chunk out Poppy, able to keep himself alive. Norador getting hooked on in. Here comes Rakan finally arriving in the fight. Corki has arrived as well. We'll see if Boise State can turn this one around. Joshua Bell trying to flash forward onto Corki, but he can't get in range. Burns him down. The entire side of University of Utah once again standing on the package. Poppy left alive here, considering cutting the wave, but looks like Brown Sugar is going to go for the recall, try and defend his base. 1v4. These death timers are super long, and while there aren't Baroned up minions, Boise State should just be able to run through the remaining structures here in this base. Brown Sugar looking towards those minions, wants to try and devalue the amount of damage Boise State can hit in these towers, but I think it's just too little too late. Comes to the tower, instantly blown up. Ace for Boise State once again here to close out this game, and University of Utah's next will shortly fall thereafter. Boise State in a 2-0 fashion take down University of Utah.
2-0 comeback fashion there. Fantastic job, but fortunately, you know, Goblin just had to pay the price because everything got blown onto Goblin, and that was a great use of the collateral damage and the dash, plus the Immortal Shield Bow. All of that being able to keep Elo Dad just barely alive. And, you know, you mentioned the Rakan. It looked like a questionable engage, but by the time Rakan got there and the package got there, Utah was just so scattered because the rest of Boise State and Elo Dad and Mortar had just kited out that entire fight. Don't forget that the Idaho Army National Guard, a proud supporter of Boise State Esports, top 5 plays that we bring to you at the end of every broadcast are brought to you by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time. More than 10 jobs offering a $20,000 bonus. Andrew Groove's first paid for. Idaho Army National Guard, one of the best teams out there. As we prepare to put a bow on these games that we've seen here tonight in League of Legends, Soulpan, we of course have our Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game. Your thoughts on who it could be, because it's kind of tough because Boise State in that Utah series had different players popping up.
It's going to be the top dog. I think that first game looked nearly hopeless for Boise State University, but despite that, the Gangplank ran it back. So I think I'm going to have to say Elo Dad absolutely deserves this title here for across this entire series.
Yeah, I don't think you can argue with that. I mean, I think on Game 2 alone, Ascent probably would deserve it. But again, Elo Dad, it's not like he was shut out in Game 1. I would think you're right. It's got to be Elo Dad, and it will be. As you said, Game 1 at times looked kind of bleak, and Elo Dad just farmed this Gnar all night long. Forces Rainey to get benched, which you also always have to consider, and that's a big reason why I think Elo Dad is your player. Hey, you always got to think of all the reasons why, and coming to them is forcing the enemy team to change top laners in the middle of a series.
Yeah, I mean, Gnar and Gangplank, they chose that matchup, and they just got punished so hard for it. So Boise having a really good read on their win con this game. It was just going to be Elo Dad. Did so much damage across this entire series. I'd love to see the numbers get pulled up at some point, but either way, those Gangplank barrels, they basically sold the series on their own.
I mean, he's going to get a pick here, too, which is even crazier. This would have probably been a lost game. Ends up getting a pick. The Immortal Shield Bow, 200 years of gameplay knowledge. Thank you, Riot. I'm sure that's exactly what Kodama said there in that moment as well. But the Idaho Central Credit Union player is Elo Dad. Idaho Central Credit Union is a great player, makes the team more successful, just like Idaho Central's helping members achieve financial success. Big congratulations to Elo Dad being our ICCU player of the night. As we prepare to wrap this one out, before we get to our top 5 plays, Soulpan, your first look at Boise State League of Legends in quite a long time. What are your final thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think the big thing is just watching out for those invade timers and watching those death timers. It's the one thing I'd like to see, slightly cleaning up the counter jungling play. It's the right idea to go for those camps. It's the right idea to steal away those resources, especially when you have the more aggressive jungler, the better early game jungler in the Lee Sin. But I just want to see a slight change up in the timing of which they're willing to stay in that jungle. And I think cleaning that up, Boise State stands a really good chance of taking down stronger teams.
Boise State 5-1 in the Halloween Classic. We'll see what next week brings, but we will leave you now with our top plays presented by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time. More than 10 jobs offering a $20,000 bonus and your choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is one of the best teams out there. Reach out on Twitch at iGuard Gaming. Here are your top 5 plays from Boise State's win over Utah in the Halloween Classic. Great. He's going to get a bunch. It should get easily a plate up here. Already up 10 CS. I know this set does have a double kill, and Senshell's going to face it one more time.
It's happening again. Level 6 released in. Has to get into this fight, though. Still has Dragon Mage for the execute, but he doesn't need it. The rest of the team is here. Good roam coming in from Park to find a kill on the mid lane once again. Rock on the side is Park in the back line, just delaying these recall timing, denying the ability to escape. Will be 2 more members going down here, most likely. Rain at least gonna fall. Poppy able to escape on the side. Dragon absolutely going uncontested to Boise State.
State picks up a solid 3 kills in that very.
There comes the tower execute, looking for the play on top of it all. Encore does come out. Here comes the combo. Cannon Barrage plus Firefold plus the Ziggs. Mega Inferno Bomb doing so much damage. They're going to clean up the defenders of these mid-lane towers for University of Utah, and Boise State's looking at least an inhibitor. Sugar gets flashed on. The junglers are outplaying each other. He even steals the crowd. Morador makes him look silly. It's going to be finally a set into the back end of the fight. 1,000 gold shut down onto the Corki. Baron's on the table. They got everyone here for it, and Boise State turns on the switch to make the comeback happen. We're coming in clutch there, and now at least someone's a team to fight. Shot down onto the jungler. It's all falling apart here for University of Utah. Encore almost able to answer back multiple targets, but everyone's already dead. It's too little, too late. Narg do nothing here against the onslaught of Boise State. Finally, the investment in Gangplank has paid off.